like a bunch of French fries, maybe employees. Imagine
This isn't one of the decisions that's made, so it's okay.
Well, I don't know. I mean, Charles Colley, the guy that stopped it the last time, was the president.
And I'm glad that you called. I enjoyed chatting that
Electric
through.
Cooperative.
The word was jeopardizing.
And he lives right up above.
jeopardizing.
He's the one that did the presentation at the last meeting with all the maps. He's the one that pulled us together the last time around.
But I agree.
And the
You're
fact
smart
that
to
he
have made
came
that
out against it
observation
is what
because
stopped
you have to tune it out.
So he has a lot of weight in this country. What's that?
No, but it would have been great if the bus had been.
No, but I mean, French fries.
I don't think so. I mean, they have a, they're from here, you know. True. She's right behind her. Yeah, that's Mama. I think right behind me. I think. Could be on this side. I don't know. I didn't see where she went to sit, so yeah. I should stand up and take a picture though, and then I'll know. Is that working? I don't know.
There's something there.
Talking or sing.
They didn't record when I was
It was. It's got it all down there. You're in big trouble. We're gonna have to
Being
get you.
recorded. We're streaming.
And speak.
How you guys?
Change the rules.
Oh wow. How are
So
you?
are you on the list?
No. I have to remain.
Well, or they have to limit the.
I'm definitely not for it, but I have
Yeah. Because of downtown business? Or?
No, the
going
Downtown
s-
Marshall Association is definitely in there. Rick is on the Board of Adjustment.
Okay. And so that's the thing. I never got that straightened out the last time we went through this. It's like I was under the impression that the commissioners can approve it. They can only can even make a
Did you read the
recommendation.
paper today? Because Paul did a really nice job of laying it out how it works.
Well, I didn't know if I saw today's paper or not, but
Yeah,
I did
it's in-
see where then it goes to the Board of Adjustment. But they don't have a hearing there, do they?
The
Board of Adjustments can have a hearing?
Set, yes.
Yeah, oh,
It's
they can,
not yet
okay.
set.
I mean,
Making sure it's yours. Making sure you're sitting in the right place.
Kind of bad if I sat in our own chair.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, we might call you county attorney.
Woo!
I broke cheap.
What happens when you come around with
Don't say that's on your...
Ah, excellent. Thank you.
Where are we? Yes. Up, it's right now. 1 minute. Let's get quiet.
Oh, I know. This is going to be a most interesting show.
Oh, right here. Yeah. Yeah, you're right there.
That's you.
He thinks he's playing jacks.
Realignment.
This
lawyer
is
of
the
county.
county attorney, but he's also the county attorney for Yancey. He lives in Burnsville. And he rides the hot dog every year.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It may be better for me just to talk without the mic.
Well, except when
About
we go
2
across.
minutes. But it will do better on the internet this way, all right? So welcome, everyone. We will start the meeting on time in about 2 minutes. Please silence any of your electronic devices. If you'd be please kind enough to do that, all right? And again, welcome. I would also like to extend a welcome for as many of you who would like to stay after public comment, because we have a very big agenda tonight and a lot of very interesting, good things on that that you might find that you have interest in. We have some 11 items, main items on the agenda. Okay? It is time to call the regularly scheduled February 12, 2019 meeting of the Madison County Board of Commissioners to order. At this time, we will have a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pretty graceful, about fell down through the seat.
We will now have a moment of silence. Thank you. The chair will entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve the agenda as stated.
We have a motion to approve the agenda as stated and posted. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a second. All those in favor of approving the posted agenda, please raise your right hand. The posted agenda is approved. You now have available for your review in the packet the January 2nd special meeting minutes, the January 8th regular and special minutes, January the 22nd special minutes, and January the 29th emergency minutes.
Correct.
Do we have a motion to approve the minutes as submitted?
Mr. Chair, having reviewed all 4 sets of minutes and found them to be accurate, I move that they be approved as submitted.
We have a motion to approve the minutes as submitted. Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. The minutes are approved. The next item on the agenda is public comment. Going to defer to our attorney, Mr. Donny Reid. Donny?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Donny Reid. I'm the Madison County attorney and been working in this capacity for about, I guess, 6 or 7 years.
Here's the card, please.
Have to say that this is the biggest crowd that I've had the opportunity to address at a Madison County Commissioners meeting. And what the commissioners want me to do is sort of set some ground rules for everyone here to let you know what public comment is for, what an agenda item is for. And it's pretty obvious that most of you are here not because of what is regularly on the commissioner's agenda, but has something to do with an asphalt plant. I mean, walking into the meeting, you see the posters that are set up. Looks like what I wear when I ride a bicycle, these lime-colored shirts that people are wearing, and then the buttons are very obvious too. So, you know, it appears that everyone is here is very passionate about their positions that they're taking. So what I'm going to do is sort of talk about 3 different issues or items. Number 1 is the agenda. The agenda has been approved for tonight. What happens on agendas is that the commissioners talk about, they have discussion, they have interaction, and generally they vote on issues that are on the agenda. If you look at the agenda, there is nothing regarding an asphalt plant that is on the agenda. So what that tells you, by looking at the agenda, and what I'm going to tell you, is that the commissioners here tonight will not be taking any action on issues related to an asphalt plant. They will not be having discussions about that. They will not be answering questions about that, and they will not be taking any action. Now, those of you who are in the non-lime shirts, don't get upset, because there is still a procedure for everybody to be heard, and that is through the public comment section that commissioners are required to put on each agenda at every regular scheduled meeting. And what public comment is for, it's a forum for folks in the community to come and let their feelings be known about issues that are important to them that is related to government. The commissioners just simply listen, and hopefully everybody else will listen in a very courteous and civil manner. Everybody's position is important, whether you agree with it or whether you don't agree with it. That's one of the wonderful things about living in this country, is that your positions are not repressed by government. So that's the reason we're here. Be courteous to those who are speaking in opposition to what you're doing, because likewise, when you get to have your say, you hope to follow the golden rule. Treat others as you want to be treated yourselves. If you don't, we got a chairman, we've got a police officer, and we certainly hope that no one here is going to go in that direction. Now, having said those two things, I'm going to address the third section, because that's important, because it deals about directly the asphalt plant. There has been an application made for an asphalt plant in Madison County. That has been made through the appropriate forum, which is through the zoning department. There is a procedure that has been in place since we adopted our ordinance more than 10 years ago. It's governed by the general statutes of the state of North Carolina. That application has been made. It will have to go through a process similar to a court proceeding. It's a process called a quasi-judicial proceeding, where the Board of Adjustment will follow procedures, sending out notices, setting up a hearing, taking evidence, giving folks an opportunity to present competent evidence, one way or another, as to whether, under the rules and regulations of the Madison County Land Use Ordinance, whether an application for an asphalt plant through a conditional use permit will be permitted. Now, the reason I'm telling you all this is that this is not the proper forum for that process, because these folks are not the folks making the decision, okay? Now, all of you don't need to get up and leave, because you're here for public comment, okay? I'm just offering that to tell you that these folks here are not turning their back, they're not running away. They asked me to tell you this because this process will move forward in the way that the laws of North Carolina allow it to move forward, and there will be an opportunity for everyone who is involved in this to present evidence in a hearing. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Donny. We will now call each individual based on when you signed up. I would like to remind you to please limit your comments to 3 minutes each. We have what appear to be 31 individuals, 31. So as a matter of making sure everybody has time to do their thing, Forrest will be keeping the clock. Do you have the alarm there? Yep. And we will enforce that time limit as best we can. And again, to also reinforce what Donny said about respect, if we don't respect everyone, we don't really respect anyone. So do be courteous to the folks that are in the room tonight. And if I mispronounce a name, please forgive me. All right, we will begin. First person on the list is Donny Reid. And when you come up, also please speak into the microphone and feel free to take it off its stand. We are being streamed live on the internet, and therefore it's very important that if you don't speak in, the internet does not necessarily always pick up the general conversation in the room.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
In the event that you do mispronounce names, how about we just make it a good practice that whoever gets up to speak introduces themselves as well?
Perfect. Perfect. Excellent. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
All right. Those of you who don't know me, I'm a co-founder and part owner of French Broad Pavement.
Donnie, I hate to interrupt you, but please get that mic closer to you, please. Somebody help me there. All right?
How's that?
That's much better. Thank you.
Yeah, I was born and raised in Walnut. 5 sisters and 11 mothers. She was the hardest working woman I've ever known. We didn't have much, but we were happy. It didn't take a lot to make us happy. She believed in hard work and church on Sunday and Wednesday. And if she heard us ever say a little bad word, she'd smack your head plumb off your shoulder. She didn't believe in talking like that. I'm very happy to have grown up and lived in Madison County and Walnut and the community I was raised up in. I joined the Army when I was 18. Stayed in there for 3 years. When I got out, I started at Warren Brothers, which is now called Harrison. I started out as a laborer. 15 years later, I was a foreman. I was in charge of millions of dollars of contracts, paving interstates, airports, big parking lots. About everything you'd think of, I paved. And I was pretty good at it. In 1997, I started a company called French Broad Paving. I took out a small loan. My son was 17 at the time, and we worked very hard in that company trying to make it. With hard work and blessings by God, we had a good living. But there were many times that we couldn't even afford to pay ourselves, but we paid our men and the people we worked for. We know what it's like to get dirty and have calluses upon your hand. Now we're wanting to expand our company a little bit further by putting an asphalt plant over in the quarry in Marshall, which is zoned industrial. It will bring more jobs, more tax money to the community. Our restaurants, our gas stations, our parking houses, truck drivers, welders, mechanics, all of them will do better in their businesses. People are worried about the air pollution and smell. I believe in fresh mountain air and clean environment. And so does our great state of North Carolina, who has the strictest rules, environmental rules in the nation. We intend to go a little bit further than that by burning clean fuel. Number 2, clean fuel, which is not required, and placing a condenser on the AC tank. I was going to say a little bit more here about somebody come up to my garage there last week, wanted me to move my asphalt plant somewhere else, but I'm not going to mention that. I'm going to be respectful. God bless you.
Thank you. T.J. Reid.
Brought you guys another packet. Sorry about that. I know y'all got packets on top of packets.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks, sir. Guys. My name's T.J. Reid, and like Dad said, I started doing this when I was 17 years old. And we worked very hard. We provide all these yellow shirts in here, almost all of them is our family. And we want to keep providing for our family. We want our business to grow, so every one of our families grow. We're not asking to do something horrible inside this community. I love this community, I really do. I coach ball at the ball fields, and I'm not going to stand up there and have to hide my face in shame because of something horrible. You can look at these maps. If all this stuff I see on Facebook and I read, if any of it was true, Hendersonville, nobody go to Hendersonville. There wouldn't be $300 million in tourism in Hendersonville. Inca, they wouldn't be selling homes for $1 million. They wouldn't have 2018 Community Excellence Awards. I know that Madison is everybody's home and everybody's really passionate about it. And I agree with that. I'm passionate about what I do too. I'm passionate about paving. I'm passionate about hard work. I'm passionate about our truck drivers, our restaurants, our communities. I don't want anything to deteriorate or go down in Madison County. But what I do want is smooth roads, sidewalks. I want tennis courts, walking trails, biking paths. I want nice things for my community. That's all I want. And I want a family that can grow. I want my men to make more money. If we make more money, our men make more money. Then our children have nicer things. And everybody has nicer things. That's all I want. That's my time. Thank you all very much.
Dean Caldwell.
Thank you very much. I do have a question. This gentleman, this worthy gentleman right here indicated that it's actually the adjustment board that makes a call on this activity. Is that correct? Can I ask if you can confirm that? Okay. Now, I have a question, another question for the board. Is anybody allowed to speak at these meetings, or is it just restricted to Madison County residents?
It's not restricted to Madison County residents.
Okay, thank you very much. All right. In the spirit of full disclosure, and somebody's left their gig stick up here, I know French Broad Paving a little bit. I worked with Shay for a couple of years.
Please speak into the mic.
Oh, sorry. Grandchild number 4's father works for French Broad Paving, and I've spoken to TJ 3 times. One of those times was today. My whole focus here is about business and opportunity. Okay? French Broad Paving is the epitome of the American dream, folks. It was so well said just a minute ago by the first speaker. 2 men took all the liability and risk by borrowing money, but they had a vision. They took on all the responsibility, all the liability, and what they've done is turned it into a multi-million-dollar business that employs many people, many of which are sitting in the audience right now. Okay? And this is about opportunity for Madison County. TJ showed that the impact, where this plant's going to be located. Does anybody have any idea how much space is taken up by his asphalt plant?
2 acres.
No, about half a football field. That's the imprint of this plant. The highest portion will be 81 feet. The rest of it will be much lower. And it's only visible by a few houses across the river. It's not visible from 2570 or River Road. This is not sight pollution, it's not light pollution, it's not noise pollution. It's not going to run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Okay? Does this plant have some hazards and risks? Sure they do. I've noticed that the opposition, or the opponents they are, have laid out documents up there talking about all the various gases and other hazards, benzene, formaldehyde. Folks, a lot of those hazards are in our air every day. They are. You know, we're breathing some of that every day. I don't know that he's going to add a significant amount, but he's going to keep more people employed. And when his business grows, yes, it's a benefit to him and his family. I understand that, but it's a benefit to his employees. Okay, Madison is a county that needs more industry. We're very mountainous. This is an industry that has a small impact inside a quarry. So I'm for it. Okay, that's what we're about, industry and expansion and growth. We need a good company like this. They are a generous company.
Thank you. Mona Brandon. And again, please speak into that mic, even if you need to take it off its stand.
Sometimes I'm taller than I appear, so does that sound okay? Well, good evening. Good evening. Is that better? There you go. My name is Mona Brandon. I work for. Okay.
Let me make a suggestion. Take it off its stand and just hold it. Yeah.
Thank you. How's that?
That's perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Fantastic. My name is Mona Brandon. I work for TRC Environmental. I am a senior environmental scientist. I've been doing consulting for about 20 years, air quality for about 18, and I've worked for TRC for a little over 10. So I'm here tonight to provide some background as to the regulatory requirements with respect to air quality when it comes to permitting an asphalt plant or really any plant, to be quite honest. I'm going to do an general overview. I could get into some specifics, but honestly, if air quality were easy, everybody would do it, and I'd probably be out of a job. So, the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality has specific regulations with respect to asphalt plants. They have specific requirements as to how to prepare an air permit application. They even have a emissions spreadsheet constructed from the state. You have to use it, essentially. You put in your inputs, and the state of North Carolina has decided how the pollutants will be quantified or calculated. You have to use the assumptions of that it will run 24/7, 87, 60 hours a year. So TRC had prepared the air quality application for the proposed asphalt plant. We ran the numbers as per all of the North Carolina air quality guidances, and the emission levels for all criteria pollutants, as well as any hazardous air pollutants, came in below the acceptable ambient level. Now, what the acceptable ambient level is, it is a level at which the North Carolina state has determined to be the level that anything above that will have health impacts, whether it be regardless of pollutant. Each pollutant has its own acceptable ambient level that has been set. So the application that was provided to the county in conjunction with the zoning determination that's required by the NCDEQ included this information. It also showed that the facility is going to be a synthetic minor source. It's going to be a very small facility with respect to air quality, and the designation at which. That one of the take-home messages is that with all of this said, the levels were found to be acceptable even when they were calculated at a 24-hour a day, 365 days a year calculation. Obviously, the plant's not going to run 24/7. One thing for the determination, I was at my 3. Okay. I guess that would be it.
Thank you.
So I do have a flyer for you, gentlemen, in case you want to. It's just references for the DEQ website.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hart Barnhill.
I'm Hart Barnhill. Everybody hear me?
Sure.
So like to do unto others, it's basically what I'm getting at here. It's a lot, and I have to go fast. Howdy. I was born and raised in Madison County by the 2 most left-leaning liberal Democrat parents the world's ever known. They taught me to value compassion for others and protection of the environment above all else, respectively, mother, father. Along with being a Democrat in those days, came the belief that we hold the moral high ground. Regardless of winning or losing, we play by the rules. We allow numbers, science, compassion, and truth to govern our policy making. I was furious at how George Bush beat the system and Al Gore. Won by Supreme Court vote. Then 9/11 happened, whipped everybody into a fearful frenzy of disillusionment. After that, we began to see massive foreign policy shifts led by propagandized claims that Saddam Hussein had ordered some yellow stuff from some country in Africa, and by gosh, we need a war to stop Al-Qaeda. Yeah, that didn't make much sense, but that's the memo we got. I hated him for it. Hated him for brainwashing the conservative people that I love. Good people, but not really prone to looking into matters of global and foreign policy. Their fear of being attacked made them vulnerable to propaganda. And as is often a result of propaganda, they banded together like family. They were an impressive, cohesive, albeit misguided army of doom and intolerance. Right, we all remember that. Now I'll be damned if I don't see the same thing in my own party, right now. Not only is it a national political monstrosity, it's affecting people I love, people I live with and work with. There's only one word in the English language to describe how the left feels about the right now. Hate. The only word strong enough. Hate I cannot abide. Again, I reiterate, I'm a compassionate, informed environmental activist, always have been. Cannot stand by and watch my people deteriorate into fear-mongering, fact-abusing, First Amendment censoring mob that I hated so badly in the early 2000s. Since I first engaged in this debate, I've been directly insulted to my face countless times because I don't agree with you. Because my evaluation of the numbers we're all looking at is different from yours, and I'm vocal about it. Growing up with my conservative friends and coworkers, I learned, if you believe in it, testify. Here I am. I hold this county as sacred as anyone. I want what's best for it. You folks in opposition to this, genuinely consider the numbers presented to you today. View this as I did when I started out. Pretend this is your family. You see put in a spotlight, grilled, threatened, accused of extortion, accused of destruction of home and property. Pretend this isn't about a national political landscape. We pride ourselves on the concept of due process, and y'all been hammering these people for months, and they're well within their state and county requirements. To this day, not one person has explained to me, if asphalt plants drop land value, why is Biltmore Park $1 billion worth of real estate a mile from an asphalt plant? Asphalt plants stunt tourism. Why did Henderson County report $297 million in tourism income last year, with 3 plants in a 1-mile radius? If asphalt plants cause health problems, why has there never been 1 cent of money paid by insurance going out to a victim of asphalt poisoning?
Ken Yeager.
So since we're limited to 3 minutes and I'm a big mouth and I talk a lot, I'm going to just truncate my prepared remarks here extensively. So my name is Ken Yeager, and I'm a Madison County resident. I live just north of Marshall up here on the French Broad River. I have a school-age son who participates in school and community activities, and I'm as concerned as anyone in this room about the environment and public health. And I'm pretty literate in scientific concepts, research studies, the scientific method of which studies are created. My particular emphasis is astrophysics and cosmology. At present, I work in the planetarium industry with digitally controlled optomechanical planetarium star projection systems. Big mouthful of stuff there. The associated technologies, and I work with public schools, universities, museums, state and federal agencies and facilities all across North America and the world. I've been around this planet a couple of times. So reading a lot of things on social media, especially hate book, Facebook, as most of you know it. Seen a lot of pro and con posts on social media about the proposed asphalt plant here in town. And I think we need to be cognizant of where do we get our information. Everybody lives in their little social bubbles, and we like our own equal-minded, like-minded echo chamber. So I heard about a letter being sent from the Blue Ridge Environmental Defense League to the Madison County Board of Health. So I'll post about it on Facebook, so I thought I'd look at it myself. So went and downloaded it. And you have to understand, now this is listed as a health survey, and it was in a letter, and then there were some notations for, well, one study in England that's 40 years out of date about asphalt. And so, a truly scientific study or anything that's being presented in that filter, it should be accurate, unbiased. It shouldn't have a predictive quality as you're reading it without, corroborating facts. So this letter is really quickly, I'm going to have to blow through a bunch of stuff here just to show you how you can cherry pick favored points to a predetermined end impression. So there was a, they're talking about the road, they're comparing the Rhodes asphalt plant in Bethel and Macon County that opened in 1998. And they cite 45% of 22 people reported various health issues. And most of them were in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. Well, it's not uncommon for people to have health issues as you age. So 45% of 22 people is 9.9. So let's round up and give them the other 10% of a human being to give them 10 people here in this survey. So one guy smelled asphalt in January and February when the plant wasn't even in production. How do you smell something that doesn't exist? That should not be included in any kind of document representing a scientific set of data. Another man, 59 years old, smoked 2 packs of cigarettes a day, admittedly for decades, and he reported high blood pressure. I'm not surprised by that. This is common people's age. One 79-year-old man was reported that he had 2 bouts of cancer that predated the asphalt plant in Macon County.
All right, excuse me, sir. Excuse me.
Sure.
We need to pull the time limit.
Okay, oh, I didn't hear you, sorry. Okay, yeah. Well, anyhow, one last thing, Buncombe County Environmental, to echo the gentleman that went before me. I spent 2 hours on the phone with Buncombe County Environmental Health Department yesterday about the 4 asphalt plants in Buncombe County, and since 1998, there has not been a single health complaint.
All right, thank you. Brandon Quinn.
Tough to go after the scientist. Good evening. My name is Brandon Quinn. I'm a builder, developer, the owner of Eden Rock Enterprises and Emergency Restoration today in Morris Hill. I live in Madison County. My businesses are in Madison County. My children go to school in Madison County. My wife and her family are from Madison County. They've been here forever. Just ask her, she'll tell you. I'm not a scientist nor a doctor, so I cannot speak to pollution, emission, or health concerns. But I am a business owner, and I believe it's important to support our community. We can do that by working with our neighbors who want to locate their businesses in Madison County. This place is a quarry and a concrete plant. It's not the most attractive or versatile piece of land where just anybody can come put in a business, but it's suitable for an asphalt plant. This asphalt plant will support our community by creating much needed jobs, and every single job, whether it's 1 or 100, is important. We cannot minimize one single job. Our community benefits financially. Currently, as a builder, developer, I purchase all of my gravel and concrete from local suppliers that are in this quarry. The addition of the asphalt plant would move my money that I'm paying to somebody else in Buncombe County back into our home county here in Madison. As a developer, for me, asphalt for roads and driveways is one of the significant costs in every single project I do. This would be the only asphalt plant in Madison, so we wouldn't be taking away from anybody in the county. Instead, we would be reaping all the benefits of having this business here. The plant will generate money for the county in the form of taxes, which go to improve infrastructure in schools. I cannot think of a better way to support our community than helping our schools. Supporting the introduction of this plant also benefits our community by demonstrating to other businesses outside of Madison County that we welcome new industry and that starting a company here is sustainable. Some have expressed concerns about property values dropping. As a builder developer, I look at property every single day. I can assure you land in Buncombe County is at an all-time high. It is at premium. They're coming here. Anyone owning property around this proposed plant or in Madison County, you should sleep well at night because they are coming this way, which means your property values are only going to go up. There are pros and cons to everything, but I try to stay mindful of doing what's best for Madison County. I believe the benefits of this asphalt plant outweigh the possible drawbacks, and at the end of the day, supporting this asphalt plant is supporting our community and demonstrating our commitment to keep Madison County moving forward. Thank you.
Greg Dillingham.
My name is
Greg Dillingham, and I thank you for this opportunity to speak with you tonight regarding the proposed creation of an asphalt plant within Madison County. My mother's family has always been proud residents of the greater Marshall community. They were Griffins, Flynn's, and Tiptons, and my grandma Corky's historic property is on Coates Road, the opposite end of where the proposed asphalt plant and where the quarry is. I remember as a boy walking through this area that's currently encompassed by the gravel quarry and enjoying the sights and sounds of nature, as well as swimming and rafting in the Ivy and French Broad rivers, areas adjacent to the quarry. This typical activity was Madison County life, and it made it so special and worthwhile for me and many friends and colleagues. And that's what draws new families, routine visitors, and tourists across the nation to come to Madison County. Marshall's made great strides since the 1950s and 60s in becoming a destination for the county, as well as Madison County later becoming a local and regional point of presence for recreation, tourism, ecotourism, arts and crafts, and other traditional mountain culture venues. That's natural benefit that is enhanced by many old and new families who choose to reside here because of these qualities, but now many are threatened by the establishment of a facility that is detrimental to the abundant natural resources around us. I've listened to many of you regarding the local and county-wide needs regarding the growth and prosperity, and the prospect of creating an asphalt plant or related business was never mentioned. Yet this proposal is here for a second time for discussion. The burden imposed on the local plan upon Marshall and Madison County will be long-term and become a chronic discussion point as to why visitors will not want to visit the area that's known as the Blue Ridge, the Jewel of the Blue Ridge. I would also ask that each of you to err on the side of caution when making decisions that impact long-term health of those who will come in contact with emissions from an asphalt plant. While in the service of their country, many military veterans are suffering as a result of their exposure to airborne environmental hazards associated with chemicals and petroleum products. I am one of them, and emissions from this plant will not be beneficial for me in the long term. Neither will it be beneficial for those veterans who also come here along the River Road and other locations to travel by motorcycle on vacation. In 1983, I was also diagnosed with acute leukemia, and while no medical provider has ever suggested a cause for the onset of illness, leukemia can result from an exposure to cancer-causing chemicals. I survived because of my family, my friends, the community, as well as my faith in God. I pray that no one else has to go through the ordeal of being diagnosed with leukemia or another cancer that might result from harmful chemicals being created by an asphalt facility or other toxic industry within the county. I thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, and guests for your time and patience.
Ellen Pearson.
Good evening. I'm Ellen Holmes Pearson, a resident of Marshall, and I'm reading a letter on behalf of Sustainable Madison this evening. I have copies for you. Today, we are formally requesting that the Board of Commissioners enact a 6-month moratorium on special use permitting so that all the governing bodies involved have time to research and evaluate the possible effects of polluting industries and recommend changes to protect its residents. Our request for action is urgent. Madison County needs time to consider regulations which will better protect its people. During the last decade, our county has experienced a healthy level of economic growth, and this is good. We wish to see the county sustain that development for the benefit of our children. A county-wide moratorium enacted now would allow the county to consider prudent and protective measures. According to the Madison County Land Use Ordinance, it is not the responsibility of the citizens concerned with detrimental effects to show that the intended use will adversely affect health or safety for the permit to be denied. Instead, it is the responsibility of the company requesting the conditional use permit to provide sufficient evidence for the board to conclude that it will not have an injurious effect on property or public improvements in the neighborhood, that it will not be detrimental to the public welfare and the general welfare of the community, and that it will not adversely affect or the health or safety of persons residing or working in the neighborhood of the proposed use. The purpose of a moratorium is to allow governing boards to push the pause button on granting permits, to allow them to do more research into an issue and decide how to proceed. This act doesn't stop a company from applying for a permit. It just puts that permit on hold while governing bodies research and determine if and how they should proceed as it pertains to regulation. Such a moratorium would be a conservative step and is well within the provisions of state and local statutes. You, as elected members of the Board of Commissioners, are responsible for looking into the impacts of polluting industry on our community. The state's environmental departments are responsible for issuing permits which affect air and water quality, but the counties have the responsibility to determine where such facilities may go and where they may not. Under the county's basic responsibilities to protect public health and safety, there is ample authority for you, the county commissioners, to take action above and beyond the state's permit process to ensure that our health and property rights are not compromised. Respectfully, I've signed this letter on behalf of citizens who have organized under the name Sustainable Madison.
Natalie Boone.
Y'all are going to have to bear with me. Public speaking is not my strong suit. My name is Natalie Boone, and I currently work for an environmental services and engineering firm based out of Asheville. I am a Haywood County native, grew up in Weaverville, and moved to Madison County 10 years ago. My husband, Justin Massey, is a native of Madison County out of Shelton Morrow. Unfortunately, he is working out of town this week and is unable to attend this meeting. But we both wholeheartedly are concerned about how this asphalt plant may affect our home. This production will be solely for the benefit of a few and a risk for the rest of us. After looking at the site plan that was submitted with the zoning application and the proposed site's proximity to the river, I noticed there is no system being planned to retain the plant's direct waste and stormwater runoff. Now, I don't know if the site plan is supposed to show a design for the runoff and waste retainment and where it should be located. I would assume it would need to be. But noticing that nothing was drawn on the plan, I became immediately concerned. The Division of Water Quality requires a facility to get a stormwater permit if it collects rainwater from its site and discharges that runoff into a stream or other body of water. Seeing as how this county does not implement any stormwater drainage management practices, I am not sure how waste and runoff coming from the plant would be kept out of any nearby streams, nor the French Broad River. So are they planning to discharge their waste directly into a nearby stream? Need I remind you this site is only about 1,800 feet away from the French Broad River. Looking at an aerial of the quarry site, I did notice about 1/10 of an acre sized pond that I am assuming is used for stormwater retention for the quarry, about 200 feet south of a proposed asphalt plant site. I wonder if the asphalt plant plans to use this same pond. If so, how would runoff be piped or drained to the pond, and how would the pond be monitored for toxins and its release into a nearby hollow that runs down the French Broad River? I do have a map, I didn't bring it up, of where that pond is located. Also, building the asphalt plant disturbing existing ground would increase the amount of impervious surfaces. Would this retention pond even be adequate enough to hold both the quarry and asphalt plant's runoff waste discharge? I've done research using the EPA's Enforcement and Compliance History online tool, looking at the nationwide violations from other asphalt plants using the American Industry Classification System ID 324121, fancy terms for asphalt plant. There are 4,288 plants in the United States that are asphalt that are active and operating. 334 facilities are with current violations, 156 have significant violations, 666, crazy number, has violations in the past 3 years, 264 facilities with formal enforcement actions in the last 5 years, 649 facilities with informal enforcement actions in the past 5 years. I'm going to go as fast as possible right now. Looking at the effluent limit exceedance reports violations within this tool, I learned that there are numerous asphalt plants that have knowingly violated their restrictions to what they dump in stormwater systems that feed into streams. I will be back.
not sure of the, oh, there it is. I'm not sure of the last name here, but Tamara.
My name is Tamara Hasty, and I'm an 8+ year work from home landowner resident located approximately 2 miles from the proposed site. I care for my parents who both have breathing issues. My mother is a twice survivor of cancer. I have 4 children, one with unknown anaphylaxis and one uses an inhaler. Between home, sports, the rodeo, the island, shopping at Ingalls, and attending church on the bypass, we spend a lot of time near the proposed plant site. The Reids have been quoted in the newspaper and around the community stating that the proposed plant will be state-of-the-art. I referenced my handout on a report that was presented at the National Asphalt Pavement Association 2011 annual meeting by 5 of their very own major industry suppliers. It explains all the technology that was already available in hot mix asphalt applications as of 2011. The industry itself defines state-of-the-art as follows. State-of-the-art plants are fully enclosed to keep materials dry, to save fuel and enhance productivity, to eliminate the need for on-site loaders, to cover all hot equipment and building surfaces with insulation, to capture any steam and purify it for the use in dust suppression, to capture and clean idling truck emissions in load-in and load-out tunnels, to use warm mix asphalts as opposed to hot mix asphalts to reduce emissions. State-of-the-art plants will use renewable energy resources such as wind and solar, and primarily renewable biomass fuels such as wood or methane. According to their very own industry, all this technology has been available since 2011. I asked the board not to be misled by the claims that their application calls for a typical 1990s, non-enclosed, diesel-fueled, hot mix drum plant. It's not cutting edge even by 2011 standards, much less by 2019 standards. Even propane is a more state-of-the-art, cleaner burning option than diesel. If they have willingly misled us about the asphalt technology and turned in an incomplete application, what additional misinformation might they use to sway opinion, or shortcuts might they be willing to take? False promises they might be willing to make, all to increase their profit margins at our expense. Make no mistake, even the best ran actual state-of-the-art plants will still emit harmful emissions, especially cumulatively. And we're talking about a 26+ year lease here. To be clear, we aren't against the county growth or asphalt. We aren't against French Broad Paving or their growth as a paving contractor. What we are against is a dirty industry growth that puts our community's health and economic status at risk. We are against any type of asphalt plant anywhere in our county. We have provided tremendous evidence showing how the plant will harm our health, quality of life, our property, and our business investments. The benefit of a small handful cannot be allowed to be at the detriment and the health and welfare of thousands of our county citizens.
Peter Ethlin.
Whoops. Still works. Yes? Yes. My name is Peter Fland. I live in Madison County. Yogi Berra is supposed to have said, when you come to a fork in the road, take it. Today, Madison County is rapidly approaching their own fork in the road. At a time when tourist and recreational dollars contribute $1.8 million to the county, we are considering whether we want to take all the risks associated with an asphalt plant. One fork in the road ahead of us is built on arts, recreation, tourism, the French Broad River, and the ambience and opportunities found in the jewel of the Blue Ridge. The other represents a roll of the dice, risk, potential for serious damage to the environment, and unintended consequences. I would suggest that the way forward to the decision is right in the county documents. The comprehensive plan was created in 2010. It specifically delineates a road going forward, built upon the existing strengths of Madison County. Then read your own promotional statements found in the Economic Development section of the county website. The future and the present are clearly described. When you consider the current amount of tourism dollars coming into the county and offset against minimal revenue from an asphalt plant, why do we want to risk the tourism revenue? I have some questions. Why was the industrial zone established adjacent to the river, one of our most significant natural resources? Why was the industrial zone located at a gateway to the county that is highly active, significantly populated, and along a tourist pathway? And what resources does the county expend on regularly supervising all conditional use permits to assure they are implemented and adhered to? How do you control for unintended consequences? I live about 1.5 miles from the plants, from proposed plants. I overlook the quarry. There are times when there are explosions in that quarry that are so severe that my house shakes. And then you have a particulate plume that starts to come out of that pit, and then it grows to something like this as it flows down the river. These are unintended consequences. That wasn't what was intended when they put in the quarry, but that's what's happening. So the question is, how do you monitor that? Because I would feel that it's not being carefully monitored. Lastly, I would ask some suggestions. Enact a moratorium on all conditional use permits until the land ordinance is reviewed and brought in harmony with the comprehensive plan. Take those actions necessary to assure that county commissioners give final approval to all future conditional permits, and establish a Madison County Environmental Commission.
Emily, whoops.
There
it's live again. Emily?
Can I leave these with you to take?
Hi, my name is Emily Sontag. I live 1/2 mile from the proposed location in the quarry. And as I've never been forced to live next to an asphalt plant before, I've started talking to people and looking around in different counties who live near asphalt plants to get an idea of what my family might be looking at in the near future. Today I spoke with a woman who lives 1/2 mile away from the Weaverville asphalt plant, which is a plant that is also operating in its emissions levels always. They've had I looked at all the complaints. They had one complaint like 8 years ago. So I'd like to, she was kind enough to write down everything that she told me today, and I'd like to share it with you. So this is her, my name is Roxanne Rodriguez. I live 1/2 mile away from the APAC plant in Weaverville. I live around the same elevation as the plant. I can smell it every day that they mix, and if the wind is blowing from any direction other than from the southeast, it is a terrible smell that takes over our house, even with the windows closed. In the summer, we can't open our windows. I can even smell it in the winter, though they make asphalt a lot less, and this winter they are shut down. It's not bad in winter as it is in the warmer months, but you can still smell it in our yard. In summer, when we want to be outside the most, it's the worst. It's an extremely strong, unpleasant odor that stings the nostrils and can give you a headache. On top of that, there are the trucks. It's not just the sounds and smell coming from the plant. The trucks driving by our house to get to that quarry with loads of asphalt smell terrible, and it is chaos on the road with all the traffic. They're open at night because a lot of the paving jobs happen at night, so the trucks run late at night. They're also open on the weekends. They don't follow the same hours as the quarry, so on Saturdays and Sundays, we can't even be outside because of the smells and truck traffic. They are mixing on the weekends too, so we don't get a break from the noises, smells, and traffic from the plant either. We can hear the equipment running from inside of the house. Saturday is usually busier than Sunday, but it is still unpleasant both days of the weekend. The truck drivers are asked by the quarry and plant personnel not to use their engine compression brakes, commonly known as Jake brakes, when driving past the homes, out of consideration for the people who live here. But a lot of drivers still use them even though they aren't on steep grades. So not only do we have the noise from the loud diesel dump trucks and semi-trucks, but also the extremely loud noise from the Jake brakes. So this woman, she lives half a mile away from the plant. What you're not seeing on a lot of these, I did Google Maps, that almost all of these plants are much farther away from the downtowns of these areas than our downtown. Our downtown is just a mile away from this proposed location. So if this woman lives half a mile away from the plant, we can assume that our downtown will surely experience some of the smells and noises that she's experiencing, and not to mention the businesses and residents closer by, like myself and across the street. So we're being told by French Broad Paving that because other counties chose to allow asphalt plants near residential areas and businesses, we should be okay with having them put one so close to our own. But when you talk to the people who are living near them, they paint a different picture, and I hope Madison makes a better choice.
Ann Harold.
My name is Ann Harold. I own French Broad Real Estate Company and the Belle of Hot Springs in the town of Hot Springs. I am also part of the American Dream. French Broad Paving has cited Biltmore Lake as an example of a high-end neighborhood that is next to an asphalt plant. Let me explain why this is not a realistic comparison. Biltmore Lake is an extremely insular community with a 62-acre lake and 650 homes that could not be more different than downtown Marshall or anything we have in Madison County. When you have a community with the level of amenities such as canoeing in a community lake, hiking trail systems, campsites, swimming pools, tennis courts, basketball courts, playgrounds, clubhouses, these things protect the real estate value within that community. I don't believe Biltmore Lake has a community garden. Madison County has more organic farms than any other county in the state of North Carolina. Many of us have backyard gardens, front yard gardens, and we don't want to see that compromised. I have just given you letters that have been written by HISTA, Hot Springs Tourism Association Board, and Hot Springs Resort and Spa. The first, I'll read the first, let's see. The first is from Hot Springs Tourism Association that has approximately 83 members, and the Hot Springs Resort and Spa, both opposing the asphalt plant. Members of HISTA and the spa, as well as the town of Hot Springs, rely entirely on tourism dollars, which countywide was in excess of $39 million in 2017, with local tax receipts being $1.83 million, according to an economic impact study by visitnc.com. As we all know, Hot Springs is home to the Appalachian Trail and the only natural mineral springs in the state of North Carolina, and is on the French Broad River. Those of us in Hot Springs don't want to run the risk of dirty industry tainting the river that provides an income from hundreds of people in this county. The potential of this could happen if there were a fire at the plant or a runoff into the river. When you Google asphalt plant fires, you get 141 million hits. They are common. The letter from Hot Springs Tourism Association to the Madison County Commissioners. We, the board members of the Hot Springs Tourism Association, have deep concerns regarding the proposed plan by French Broad Paving for an asphalt plant at the McCrary Rock Quarry. We believe we have a responsibility to our members and the community to take a stand when our homes and businesses are threatened. Our members have built lives and livelihoods based on the incredible natural beauty of the forested mountains of Madison County, North Carolina. The economic gain promised by the asphalt plant pales in comparison to the revenue amount Madison County currently receives from the tourism industry. In 2017, revenue from Madison County tourism dollars was $39 million. With tourism and ecotourism initiatives already underway, that amount only promises to grow in years to come. Costs and emissions of the plants. You've got these letters. Thank you.
Mitch Hampton.
Thank you for allowing me the time to speak this evening. My name is Mitch Hampton, and I am here to voice my concern over the proposed asphalt plant near the French Broad River. I am one of the owners of French Broad Adventures, a family-owned company that has roots in Madison County since 1981. We employ an average of 100 staff over our 8-month-long season, with approximately 60% of those staff residing in Madison County. We have been in business here for 38 years, and in the past 5 years alone, we have had over 115,000 people visit us to enjoy one of our many outdoor activities, like rafting the beautiful French Broad River. The ecotourism industry in Madison County is thriving. These are the numbers of just one company whose revenue and therefore tax dollars coming into the county depend on the health of our air and water. My home is here in Madison County. I sit on multiple boards, and my business is proud to be sponsors of the Madison County Special Olympics, the Madison County Arts Council, and other fantastic nonprofits in the area. We volunteer when called upon by local fire departments and EMS to provide swiftwater rescue services, such as search and rescue, body recoveries, and residential flood evacuations. In short, I am thoroughly and wholeheartedly invested in this beautiful county. I'm extremely concerned with the proposed location of the asphalt plant on the shore of the French Broad River and the pollution that is caused by this type of industry. I urge you to place a moratorium on the application process of the asphalt plant. If we do not strive to keep our county safe from pollution, tourism could become extinct in Madison County. And even more fundamentally important than the revenue and the tax dollars, my daughter, my granddaughter, and the rest of my family live here. My family, my staff, the residents of this area, and the tens of thousands of visitors that come here every year do not deserve to breathe polluted air or swim in polluted water. Any industry that produces additional pollution in Madison County, in my opinion, is unacceptable. Thank you for listening to my concerns.
Morris Frisbee.
Thank y'all for giving me the time to speak here. I'm been here in Madison County all my life, and raised my daughter here. I've had a business here. My dad had one here for 40 years. So Madison County is my home, and I have concerns with what's fixing to happen here. So, you know, I think we need growth as long as we don't destroy the quality of life here as we all enjoy this. We don't want to sit on our porches and walk down the streets of Marshall or play in ball fields during fairs, horse shows, kids playing outside in playgrounds, and maybe on a beautiful day an elderly person takes outside to enjoy some sunshine, but they can't enjoy because of the smell of asphalt. On the fact sheet, the French Broad Paving had with a petition, it plainly stated it would omit odors from time to time. So, as we all know, we need a tax base, so we need growth. Buncombe is spilling over into Madison. So we have Ivy River, Long Branch, Tillery Branch on this end of the county that possibly could be developed. This would give us a lot of revenue. So let's try to not stop this from happening. So tourism is a major part of our county, as we've heard other people talk. So we need to protect what we have here and not make it smell like other places. We're not Buncombe County. We do have a jewel here, and I hope that you guys will help keep it this way. As a native local and locals here, we all pay taxes here and we vote here. So we all local. We all have chose to make this our homes. So help us make the right decision for this.
Jason York.
I was in your area though. That's okay. I was 8 years back. So you're not bothering me. Thank you. Thanks.
Everybody having fun? Everybody having fun? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Really quick, I just want to touch on a couple other things that people said before I read my statement. I do have concerns about the asphalt plant. I'm sure there's a lot of hard workers in here, and I certainly don't begrudge the county tax revenue or anyone, any business. I'm a business owner as well in the county. I've lived here since 2006. I have 2 kids that both go to the schools here, property in Hot Springs and property about 2 miles from here, well within the sphere of influence of the proposed plant. Just because there's pollution in the air doesn't mean you should add more if you know it's bad for you. That's the first point I want to make. Second is I've personally sampled water around Anka Lake near the plant that's there, and the water quality is terrible. You can't fish in it, you can't find a bug, you can't find a worm. So that concerns me. So having said that, here's my statement. Good evening and thank you for your time. Jason York, Madison County resident and business owner. For the last 10 years, I've worked in environmental consulting with private landowners, the Forest Service, the government, and other nonprofits. I have several concerns. As a licensed herbicide and pesticide applicator, I'm no stranger to opinionated voices of opposition to the methods that I sometimes use. I pay close attention to my clients, the labels and the chemicals I use, and other required safety. I would never recommend something I thought was ineffective, unneeded, and potentially harmful. To do so knowingly would put me at risk of felony charges by the state and federal law. I'm also required for annual inspections, ongoing record keeping, continued education, and licensing insurance on an annual basis, all of which is expensive. The nature of Madison County is unique. I've been and lived in many places in this country, and because of the undeveloped nature where we live, it's becoming harder and harder to find. Agriculture, clean air, and clean water is vitally important to everyone. I think everyone in this room wouldn't want to drive 3 hours in any direction and then decide to move. We all like it here. The beauty of where we live is why we moved here. It's why we stayed. It's why tourists spend $38 million a year. Driving northwest down the bypass from Weaverville, you see the sign, Madison County, jewel of the Blue Ridge Mountains. It would be nice to keep it that way. None of us want to drive into the jewel of Blue Ridge Mountains and smell asphalt before their wedding or fishing trip or rafting trip or just to their ride to their house. People proposing the plant have a lot of money to gain and not a whole lot to lose. County residents face increased risk to respiratory health, loss of property value, decreased revenue from loss of tourism, and this potential loss of revenue could be more damaging to the county budget than the potential gains of the proposed plant. High school students, grocery shoppers, county and retail employees would bear the brunt of the negative effects of the plant's emissions every day it was in service. Cumulative health effects of these emissions are well documented, as other speakers here have attested to. As a consultant, it's become clear to me that parties asking for permission for various activities usually provide well-documented evidence to support that no harm will take effect. It's my recommendation that this board require due diligence be done by the proposed permit, and that the citizens should not have to shoulder the cost of this due diligence.
Jim Tibbetts.
There are a couple things I'm confused about. First, the Weaverville asphalt plant will be open in March. It's just 11 miles from the proposed Madison plant, easy access to I-26. So I don't understand how this proposed plant adequately benefits Marshall and the surrounding community given the risks. Second, now that the North Carolina Department of Transportation plan is out, if French Broad Paving gets state government contracts to build and maintain roads, there are no tax revenues for Madison County. State agencies don't pay taxes. So with all the upcoming road development, I don't see how this proposed plan adequately benefits Madison County. There should be some huge benefits, and I must be missing these because I think you're hearing about how much pain this could cause. One thing we can all agree on is that asphalt plants stink. The debate is about how badly they stink and how far the stink reaches. Now, unlike emissions, odor is not much regulated by the state. Plants are expected to stink. If the stink is highly offensive, a plant will be asked to find a solution. But if the plant determines that there is no solution that is technically and economically feasible, then the stink goes on and on. There are numerous factors, including fuel type used. Most of these are natural gas, whereas the Madison plant would be diesel. The age of the equipment installed. It's not clear that the state-of-the-art plant is going to be all new equipment. Weather patterns and fugitive emission controls that affect the stink output of a plant. It's also a matter of whether you live in an air-conditioned house with the windows closed all the time as to how much it affects you. These details are not included in the Madison County zoning application. Now I see posters of all these different plants. Most of them are burning natural gas, as I stated, but I don't see the Burnsville plant. And this one had numerous complaints that were filed and investigated by the Department of Air Quality for odors that were found in Burnsville, which was a mile and a half away from the plant. Now, Mr. Reid was quoted in the paper saying that the town of Marshall would never smell the asphalt plant, and 800 foot is the most someone could usually smell it. So I suggest that the conditional use permit issued by the Madison County Board of Adjustments allows the county to shut down the plant if fumes ever do reach Marshall, or if the smell goes beyond 800 feet, more than half the time. That way, the plant will be the loser instead of the people or the businesses or the home values or the quality of life we want in Marshall and the surrounding community where the stink is greater than predicted. Thank you.
Again, I'm not sure about the last name, Elizabeth.
It's Gullum. Thank you, Norris. My name is Liz Gullum. My business, MCC Development, that my husband and I have had for the past 30 years. We design, install, and commission pre-engineered hazardous materials storage buildings. Our clients look to us to help them safely store and contain the types of chemicals that will be emitted and that are used in the production of asphalt. And when I see Mr. Reid on social media downplaying the dangers of these chemicals, it gives me cause for concern. I'm here to tell you that these chemical emissions from asphalt plants are harmful and they're dangerous. And instead of telling us how you're going to prevent the harmful emissions, you're telling us that they aren't harmful. And instead of telling us how you're going to prevent the groundwater contamination, you're telling us that it's not dangerous. We know that exposure to these emissions are in fact dangerous. In the instance of an asphalt fire, for example, evacuations would be necessary. And so I'm wondering how we would evacuate Elderberry Nursing Home and the preschool if there were to be an asphalt fire. We have 3 ambulances in the county, and so that is concerning to me. Would we have to wait for the asphalt firefighters that are 35 minutes away? That's a long time for a big plume of smoke to travel through our county. As Jim said, 70 to 90% of asphalt plants in the U.S. Currently use natural gas. And so this plant would be using number 2 fuel oil, which is one of the dirtiest. We also have no assurance that you won't switch the fuel that you're using to refurbished fuel oil, which is dirty and does not, burns even worse than number 2. You could also add recycled asphalt shingles to your mix without telling us, and that would increase the toxic emissions coming out of that. So we don't have any way of preventing you from, say, selling your facility like they did in Burnsville after 2 years, and a big giant corporation came in and took that over. If you expand the size, then are more pollutants going to rain down on us? We just don't have any control once we put the plant in place. I am pro-growth. All my friends are pro-growth. My friends all own businesses. They own real estate businesses, they own galleries, they own coffee shops, they're outfitters, they own construction companies. We look to businesses like PrintPack, the largest employer in the county after our schools and government. We look to Bucci, who is expanding and adding employees. We look to French Broad Rafting and to Hot Springs Resort and Spa. These businesses are already thriving, contributing, and growing. Will we risk our growing tourism dollars? That the economy took in $1.8 million in 2017. That number is supposed to be more for 2018. Do we want to shoot ourselves in the foot by causing harm to these growing local businesses? Do we want to put one family's financial gain ahead of an entire community? I hope not.
Elizabeth?
That was her.
That was me.
Well, we have another one. 2 in a row.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Ponser. I'm a holistic veterinarian new to the Marshall area. I became a holistic veterinarian. I'm a real veterinarian. I went to veterinary school. I have a medical degree. I have a master's degree in animal nutrition, so that I believed in the pharmaceutical way of raising our animals. I became a holistic veterinarian because of my own health concerns. I have autoimmune disease. I became sensitive to a lot of the food I ate, and it's taken me 20 years to come up with answers for myself. When I was in veterinary school in Purdue in between 1981 and 1985, that they had a cancer study there, and that they realized the dogs were the canaries to let us know about the future of cancer in human populations. They found that dogs who lived in backyards that were sprayed with the pesticides for yard treatments, those dogs got lymphoma within 30 days. As a holistic veterinarian, I treat a lot of animals with cancer. There is no answer to the cancer problem that we have. I put my own dog to sleep before Christmas with a bad case of osteosarcoma. I put many animals to sleep each month because of the diseases that they get. Please ask for a moratorium so that we can study the effects of all of the toxins present in this county, and I second the motion for an environmental committee. Thank you very much.
John Davis.
Good evening. My name is John Davis. My wife, Chris, and I own and operate the Marshall House Inn in downtown Marshall. We purchased the inn a little over 3 years ago and spent a year renovating the building, and have pretty much invested our life savings in doing that. Since then, we've had the pleasure of introducing guests from around the world to Marshall and Madison County. Last year alone, we had 1,600 guests from 6 countries. And they come here for the environment. You can go to a big city anywhere, but you can't come here to the unspoiled environment that we have. In the short time we've lived in Marshall, the town has experienced incredible growth. New businesses include the Madco Brew House, Star Diner, Main Street Grill, Bucci Plant. Retail facilities like French Broad Exchange, the Ha Gallery, Outpost Gallery, Blunt Pretzels. Their newly renovated buildings include the former Wells Fargo building, the Story building, the old church on North Main Street, and new and ongoing projects like the old Madison County Jail, the Community Housing Coalition's Reclaim Hardware and Salvage Store, the old Bowman Funeral Home, and the Capitola Mill. These are just projects that have happened in the last 3 years alone. An asphalt plant in the midst of this downtown renaissance is what me and many others consider to be a serious threat to the continued growth of Marshall in the county. An asphalt plant located near town and near one of the main roadways coming to the county is just a bad idea. We moved here from Burnsville. We had an office downtown when the ANSI asphalt plant was built and operating. And the smell was awful. We were a mile and a half away from the plant, and you could smell it. Even when they put the deodorant in it, which then smelled like a bad pine tree smell, it still smelled. And ignoring the potential health issues, the smell alone made visitors coming into downtown Burnsville an unpleasant experience for residents, locals, and visitors. As we all know, Madison County is never going to be home to large industry due to our topography, so we need smart growth, and tourism can help provide the sustainable growth and jobs our county needs. Based on economic impact studies from Visit NC, tourism spending last year set a record in 2017. Visitor expenditures in Madison County for 2017 were estimated at $39.54 million. And that drove a tourism-related job payroll of $8.26 million and generated $1.83 million in sales tax receipts to the county. They estimate, in fact, that the tourism revenue saved residents approximately $174 per year in their tax savings. In the last 10 years, tourism expenditures in Madison County increased by over 30%, and over the last 20 years by a whopping 144%. Do we really want to jeopardize the incredible growth and source of revenue for a plant that will benefit a few and jeopardize the health and economic prosperity of many? Well, my wife and I are small business owners ourselves and are really strong supporters of local business. But we can't support this plant. It has so much potential downside to the town and county residents and very little upside. In fact, after our experience with the Burnsville plant, we certainly would not have invested in our inn had we known there was a plant only a mile from town. Should this plant be allowed to proceed, we're looking at potentially loss of tourism dollars and jobs, loss of future investments in Marshall, the financial losses to homeowners adjacent to the site whose property valuations have been negatively impacted. I urge you all to consider the request for a moratorium and change in zoning that's been submitted so we can continue to keep Madison County the true jewel of the Blue Ridge. Thanks for taking time to come out.
Ollie West.
Looks like once.
Because I'm here on the DMA and then
There'll be another shot.
Hi, everybody. My name is Holly West. I own the Sweet Monkey Cafe, and I'm here on behalf of the DMA. If you don't know who that is, we are the Downtown Marshall Association. We've composed a letter that I will be reading to you. So, dear Board of Madison County Commissioners, construction of an asphalt plant has been proposed adjacent to the McCrary Stone Quarry, just over a mile from downtown Marshall, where so many have placed their businesses, hopes, and dreams. The Downtown Marshall Association is hereby expressing our concern that such an asphalt plant could negatively impact the future growth of our town. The Downtown Marshall Association was incorporated in 2009 to promote the growth and diversity of the businesses in a once thriving downtown. There are now over 55 members in our association, and we host a myriad of events, including the Mermaid Parade and Festival, estimated in bringing 1,500 people to downtown, the 4th of July fireworks, Marshall Gras, and the Jingle Mingle on Main, just to name a few. These events have helped lead a resurgence of entertainment, art, overnight accommodations, dining, and just plain fun for every day of the week. Like many rural communities with few large employers, Marshall relies on tourism income. According to the Visit NC website, an estimated $39.54 million were brought into our county from tourism. Thank you. Tourism-related activities in 2017. Many of us on the ground feel like that number increased in 2018, and it's our hope that we will continue the growth of Marshall. We will continue that growth as Marshall becomes the destination we have been working so hard to create. We have heard that a handful of jobs may be created with the establishment of the plant. As business people ourselves, we normally would support job growth as an economic benefit to the county. However, the operation of an asphalt plant causes many of the existing businesses in town. If the operation of an asphalt plant causes many of the existing businesses in town to lose customers and possibly have to go out of business, then the proposed plant could be putting many more existing jobs at risk that might be created by the proposed asphalt plant. A thriving town also depends on people and businesses investing in the buildings. Over the last decade, over a dozen of vacant, rundown buildings have been purchased, renovated, and many have already been rented out to new businesses. The infusion of capital might not have happen given the possibility of a potentially damaging business within 2 miles of their investment. There's a real possibility that the emissions and odors from the plant could move north along the French Broad River, passing through downtown Marshall. The harmful fumes are unpleasant to breathe and could pose a real risk to everyone's health. We need to look no further than Burnsville, where a similar plant was built, and the downtown was built in the downtown, which is over a mile away, was subjected to the unpleasant and toxic fumes, much to the detriment of the residents and visitors. We have worked very hard to bring new businesses and visitors to downtown. To have an asphalt plant as a welcoming center to town, along with noxious odors, potential health and environmental issues, which are also very concerning to us. I wish I had another chance, but thank you.
Patty Waltz.
I do have a copy of the letter for everybody. Thank you.
My name is Patty Waltz. I'm just going to read this. Might go over a little bit of 3 minutes, but. We all understand that asphalt is used for road infrastructure, but the planned location for this asphalt plant is at the gateway of downtown Marshall and is of grave concern for business owners and residents. We have all experienced being stuck in traffic behind an asphalt truck. It is an awful stench that nobody wants to be around. What I have to say is spoken from the heart. I have lived in downtown Marshall for over 12 years. Marshall is a National Historic District. Many of the buildings in downtown were built in the early 1900s. Over the past 12 years, I have witnessed innumerable people renovating buildings and bringing them back to life and have done outstanding work. Currently, those previously empty buildings are now occupied and rentals are in demand. I have witnessed store owners pulling together with creative brainstorming sessions to figure out ways to draw in tourism, inspiring events that benefit all the businesses in town and provide fun for the community. Grants have been received for town beautifications. Another reason why people are drawn to downtown Marshall is because of its natural beauty. The French Broad River is the 3rd oldest river in the world. There are herons, kingfishers, osprey, and the most awe-inspiring bird of all is our resident bald eagle. It is an honor to witness such a majestic creature, and it is no wonder that the eagle was chosen as the symbol for America. The only way to ensure that we continue to experience these miraculous moments is to protect the environment, which means being a good steward of the earth, clean air, clean water. So what's going to happen when there is asphalt runoff? Wildlife does not have the luxury of drinking filtered water. If the air reeks of asphalt, will the birds fly downstream? Will the people in Marshall no longer experience those moments of wonder and beauty? The asphalt plant inevitably will be spewing an aroma of burning petroleum smoke with potential runoff, and the river, a hop, skip, and a jump away, will transport those air and water pollutants downstream right into town. Our earth is finite. As population grows, it is important to be mindful of how we treat our local communities and cherish the beauty of this wonderful world. People come to the Jewel of the Blue Ridge to enjoy outdoor adventures and to get away from the rat race. We understand that the asphalt plant wants to save money, but there is much more to be taken into consideration. A tremendous amount of energy, hard work, large investments of money, and love have been poured into the revitalizing of downtown Marshall. Marshall's population is 900. For every one person that speaks out to their legislators, there are 100 people that are in agreement but do not take action. There are well over 100 people in this room and 200 people over in the overflow of that room. We speak for thousands. We are begging you, please do not do this. Is it worth the risk of sabotaging years of work with this one decision? Thank you.
Darlene, I risk mispronouncing the last name. Chi, Darlene Chi.
Yes, you got it.
Hi, y'all.
You're good.
Cool. I'm Darlene Chee. It's my married name, and I'm a Yankee. I'm a damn Yankee. I'm from New York City. I'm a family nurse practitioner. I take care of elderly patients, mostly with dementia, who live in facilities like assisted living, skilled nursing, and rehabilitation. I work for a company that's based in Charlotte, and I work in the local area, but not going to Elderberry. I had some prepared notes about the frailty of the populations that I serve that seem very similar to the ones that are at the Elderberry site, which is a facility that I have heard is very, very good, takes excellent care, and also, which I understand is within walking distance of the proposed site. I know we've heard from scientists and others who say that there's not going to be an effect, but I don't know that folks really know the vulnerability of this patient population, regardless of how excellent the care is at Elderberry. Patients who have to be in a facility and can't be at home to be cared for by their loved ones most likely have a combination of immobility and also cognitive decline, which makes them very vulnerable, not only to getting sick and getting pneumonia and falling ill and dying before they get to the hospital, but having to be rushed out to the hospital. And my job as a nurse practitioner in New York City, in projects and penthouses, and in Connecticut and Florida and in North Carolina, which is a place that I've chosen to be my home, the same rules apply, and the patients are just as cared for, just as endearing, just as vulnerable and fragile. We can't afford to take that risk. I think the reason for the moratorium is about public health is just a basic, very good reason to have a moratorium. But I'm going to take my button off because I am a damn Yankee, and I know that there's a big division. I didn't realize how big it was until I came here tonight. I think that we need more time as a community to try and build bridges, and I am not from here, but that doesn't mean that we can't talk, you know? So I don't know what happened where folks are characterizing being hammered by some kind of raging opposition, but I think that there needs to be more discussion, and there needs to be more time and consideration. And I'm a steward of the public health, but I'm also your neighbor, and I'm also a nice person, even though I'm from New York City. And I'm also an ex-smoker, and a lot of my patients are, and their grit and their ability to survive, and their family members, the folks that I've been able to serve in North Carolina. I have never been to a part of America that cares for people more, and in their daily lives really cares for people more than here. And I'm very moved by that. And that's partly why I made this place my home. And I want to work to continue for it to be the best home it can be. I have my digits for you if you want to talk. Thank you.
Debbie Herron.
I have sheets for you guys. They might be at the bottom. I don't know, because I just laid them there. So you need to get your sheets out. Thank you. It'll say overview of the 7 toxic substances released from it. Good. Good. My name is Debbie Herron. I'll get my little... I am a pharmacist. I'm a former business owner of Mars Hill Pharmacy for approximately 26 years. I do have a master's in business, so I do understand gross margins, profits. I'm not an expert by any means, but I do understand it. What really frustrated me was that no one actually talked about the specific chemicals, which could be boring, but I'm not going to make it boring. I'm a native of Haywood County. I grew up in Waynesville. As we all know, the paper mill was right across the hill in Canton. And the common word was, when you walked out on the front porch, was, I think it's going to rain, I can smell Canton. You always smelled rotten eggs. So when I took chemistry, and I understood finally that any chemical with sulfur in it is going to stink like rotten eggs. So as I was looking at the toxic substances from an asphalt plant, the first substance is hydrogen sulfide. And I'm going, huh, there's the rotten eggs. Hydrogen sulfide remains in the air for 18 hours. This is the first toxic substance from an asphalt plant. Low concentrations cause neurological and respiratory effects, sore throat, cough, loss of smell. High concentrations, respiratory distress, pulmonary edema, nervous system depression. Second toxic substance is benzene. It can enter through the lungs, the GI tract, and or the skin. Low levels can cause drowsiness, dizziness, rapid heart rate, tremors, and confusion. Also, it is harmful to the reproductive system. Long-term effects, including one, acute myeloid leukemia. Chromium. It is found naturally in rocks, soil, volcanic ash, I don't know why I put ruts, and gases. Short-term inhalation can cause nosebleeds, ulcers, and holes in the nasal septum. Long-term amounts of chromium can cause ulcers, kidney, and liver damage. Contact the skin can cause skin ulcers. Formaldehyde. Short-term inhalation can cause inflammation of the windpipes, lungs, and accumulation of fluid in the lungs. Long-term, formaldehyde can cause lung cancer. Polycystic aromatic hydrocarbons, PAH. It's a group of 100 different chemicals that are formed during the incomplete burning of coal, oil. Oh my gosh. Okay, let me just shorten this. Arsenic is the cancer causing. And all this comes from the Blue Ridge Environmental Defense League. And finally, I just want to say, I plan on living here for the rest of my life. And I hope that I don't have children or grandchildren who come out on the front porch and say, Mama, what's that smell? And I have to say, oh, that's those rotten eggs from that asphalt plant. No, 99.9% of the people in Madison County will not benefit from this asphalt plant financially. 99.9%.
Excuse me, ma'am. Everybody else. Dagmar, sorry.
I didn't know that. All right.
Thank you. Oops, the other two.
Thank you.
Good evening. Can you go?
Little button. There's a button. Slide up.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Good evening, commissioners. My name is Dagmar Haubold, and I'm a resident of Madison County for the past decade. I am not an expert in science, planning, or policy making. I am a concerned citizen. I am here to speak about the asphalt plant that has been proposed by French Broad Paving. Any new project must be scrutinized for its benefits versus any negative impact it may have on the community at large. There has already been much relevant testimony and discussion about the negative impacts of the proposed plant, so I will not go into it here. What is equally important is to ask, who stands to benefit from the proposed plant? In an interview for an article in the January 16th issue of the News Record and Sentinel, T.J. Reid of French Broad Paving said construction of an asphalt plant will help his firm remain competitive. He said the commercial paver spends upward of $2 million per year to purchase asphalt from suppliers in neighboring Buncombe and Henderson County. I quote, "We will be able to control the type of mix we need and when we need it. instead of being at the mercy of suppliers. We can also do our own scheduling, and we will be able to buy the mix cheaper. He also added that the company would need 5 new hires to operate the plant. The benefit to Mr. Reid and French Broad Paving is clear. What is the benefit for the county? Tax revenues? The numbers are questionable. What is the benefit for the residents? The stink? The toxins? Jobs? 5 jobs. Not nearly enough to offset the negatives. Mr. Reid understandably holds the profitability and sustainability of his company as his priority. As a small business owner, he should want to save money, remain competitive, and have flexibility. But it should not come at the expense of the community. Local and national governments should be judged by the results of their policies, and specifically whether those policies benefit the majority. The greatest good for the greatest amount of people is an important and reasonable measure of the function of good government. It is the responsibility of the Board of Commissioners to implement the county's mission to preserve its natural resources, scenic beauty, and cultural heritage, along with developing strong tourism. As a county, we should be moving away from petroleum-based industries, not towards them.
Jeremiah.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Catlett asked that his name be withdrawn.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Doug? We have a Doug? There we go. Yes, I just want to be careful not to mispronounce last names.
He's a scientist too. Statistician or something.
Afraid my stapler broke.
No worries, I've already got a copy of those anyway.
Well, since I've got more.
Have you added to it, eh?
It's value adding.
All right.
Thanks, sir. I'm sorry. Hello, so my name is Doug Bruggeman. I live at 606 Coach Road, which borders the asphalt plant on the northwest side. I've lived there for 9 years. I'm an entrepreneur. And there are a large number of hardworking entrepreneurs in this county, for sure. So I work as an environmental consultant. I have a PhD in environmental data analytics. And also I'll highlight that I was raised by a road engineer who made damn sure I got an education, and that I worked construction during college. So I know how hard it is to lay asphalt. It's a hard job. I really admire what French Broad Paving has done. But I do want to highlight, the welfare of others in this county. So last time I was here, I provided data demonstrating that how asphalt plants impinge on the property rights of neighbors by lowering property values. All right, so I demonstrated significantly lower property values from 13 to 24% within 1 mile of the Weaverville, Black Mountain, Waynesville, and Hendersonville asphalt plants. So it's been highlighted by Mr. Reid that homes near the Inca asphalt plant often sell for at least $500,000. So I applied my analysis to the Inca plant and found that indeed, that due to the high-end development nearby, it greatly biases home values, and due to the Biltmore Lake development, and in fact, I found no significant difference in terms of reduction in home value. Only suggested of a 5% decrease in home values. But this part of Madison County is nothing like the Biltmore Lake area. We have no subdivisions with million-dollar homes within 1 mile of the quarry. And to the best of my knowledge, no one is planning such development. And why? Because the demand for real estate in the Inca area is far greater than that of the Marshall area. So to explore the differences in the real estate markets across these 5 sites in Marshall, I collected data on the number of days it takes to sell a home, percent of asking price received at close, and the average monthly supply of homes across these 6 locations over the past 2 years, I then ran a statistical analysis comparing all pairwise market contrasts for these 3 market indicators of demand. The analysis indicates, which is the table on the back of the second page, table of pairwise comparisons, where I highlight the Marshall conditions. The analysis indicates that the properties in Marshall take the longest to sell, on average 80 days. And Inca takes the shortest amount of time to sell, only 24 days. The next slowest sales cycle to Marshall was observed in Waynesville, 45 days. Also, Marshall and Waynesville were very similar in the percent of asking price received at closing. So all the Buncombe County homes received significantly greater percentage of asking price. So Marshall and Waynesville were also very similar in the number of months of homes on the market, or the supply, on average 15 months of supply. Again, these 2 locations were very different from all the other locations. So in summary then, I found that if you apply the decrease in Waynesville observed in Marshall, you'll see a reduction of $46,000 per year in tax revenue. And the reduction in individual property value is $8.9 million across those homeowners.
Sebastian Dunn.
I know you can pronounce my last name. Thank you. This is handout day today, right? Yes, sir.
It's the prettiest colors. And simple.
So, I'd like to talk to you about the hot dogget. First of all, a big fat disclaimer, I'm here on my own. Neither hot dogget committee nor Rotary has taken any position on this. This is me, a guy who volunteers for the bike event. So every year the hot dogget raises between $14,000 and $17,000 directly. That is a big revenue stream, and the handout that I gave you shows where that direct revenue comes from. In other words, by direct I mean money that comes into the event through sponsorships or through entry fees. Overwhelmingly, that money stays in the county. It's spent on education, scholarships, dictionaries for kids. It is money well spent, and it's a great benefit to the county. There is a second revenue stream, and that is indirect. That is, people come from all over the country. They stay in a bed and breakfast. They go to Stackhouse afterwards. They go to Papa Nick's. They walk Marshall and go to a gallery. They buy gas and pay a local sales tax. And so this is a second revenue stream, the direct and the indirect. There are a lot of bike events. There are counties that would love to eat our lunch. There are almost as many bike events as there are bicycles out there. And the reason that the hot dogget has been successful is because people pitch in and we have great air. People love to come and ride in our beautiful mountain scenery and breathe our clean mountain air. And that would very possibly be at risk if this asphalt plant goes forward. So the question is, looking only at the direct revenue, that is the money that comes in directly, not the money that's spent on the side by the people who come here from out of county. That will be about $160,000 in the next 10 years. So the question is, if we lose that revenue, where's that going to come from? Who is going to provide scholarship money for all of these kids if the hot dogget goes away? Because people say, I don't want to ride my bike there. I got a lung full of asphalt gas. Thank you very much.
Sarah Leaders.
Hello, I'm Sarah Landers, and I'm 16 years old. I go to Madison Early College, which is 2 minutes away from the proposed building site for this asphalt plant. I live in Marshall. And primarily what I wanted to say today is that I'm a concerned student that's living in Madison County. And I know many of my peers and my classmates are also concerned about the environmental impact that this plant will have on our home county of Madison. As a previous speaker pointed out, Madison County is a unique county. It's known as the Jewel of the Blue Ridge because of its beautiful mountains, beautiful rivers, and its majestic forests and wildlife that call this county home. I don't understand why we would want to jeopardize that, why we would jeopardize our place as the Jewel of the Blue Ridge by building this asphalt plant. I appreciate the hard work that French Broad Paving has done over the years, and I appreciate what has taken them to get where they are now. But I don't think this is the step in the right direction for their company, and I certainly don't think it's the step in the right direction for our county as a whole. When I grow older, I want Madison to be the jewel of the Blue Ridge, and the cumulative amount of pollution from the air pollution, stream pollution, runoff, sound and noise pollution, the cumulative effects of that might negatively impact the county to the point where it will no longer be the jewel of the Blue Ridge. And as a student in this county, I want it to remain that way. Thank you.
And our last speaker of the evening, Shirley, you would please come forward. I do not wish to mispronounce another name.
Start now.
I know. He says don't start now.
Hello, my name is Shirley Hergesheimer. That's what he couldn't pronounce.
Hergesheimer.
I'm a resident of Madison County, and I grew up in Texas City, Texas. And if you've ever been there, you know it's driving over the causeway to Galveston, the smell. We would park our car out in the driveway and forget to put it in the garage at night, and the next day it's another color. There was emphysema. There's a high degree of cancer in Texas City. So I am opposed. I am opposed to any industrial operation in Madison County that uses petroleum or toxic chemicals that have the potential to pollute the air, water, or ground. And right now, as you know, we have a high water level and in the ground, and pollutants from the ground now will slide right into the river. Although safeguards are used to prevent leakage of toxic chemicals and carcinogens, I fear that accidents can happen. Remember, nuclear power plants have safeguards. Noxious odors are significant, but I'm wondering if the small but massive particulate matter that is airborne from the plant as they crush the rocks is not a significant health problem waiting to happen. And where are the materials sourced from? Trucks coming in, bringing raw materials and then taking asphalt out, back and forth, heavily loaded, are going to do significant damage to our roads. It's kind of ironic that they would be making the asphalt to put on the potholes that they are creating. Noise pollution is certainly a noxious factor to consider, as well as the roads. It is expected that taxes generated from this plant will compensate for the drop of real estate value and the loss of the losses experienced by tourism. I'm not sure that that's going to play out. I wonder, would like to see some studies on that. And why pick our pristine Madison County that's known for the good air, the good water, the tourism, the hikers, the healthy people? Why pick this as your place for industrialization? Just one more statement here. This is a slippery slope, and once industrialization has been established, where will it stop?
Right, excuse me, ma'am. There will be an opportunity at the hearing for everyone to, and everyone tonight has been very courteous, and I really appreciate it. Again, I want to thank everyone for attending tonight, and we will continue with the meeting and would like to invite you, if you would like to stay for the rest of the business meeting.
I would like to speak on behalf of my family. I have a right to do that. I would like to speak to these people that has talked about my family here tonight. I have a right to speak. I did not put my name on the paper, but I do want to speak.
I hate to say it, but it is truly out of order. Okay, I've had a ruling from my attorney. Please feel free to return again.
People can make fun of us.
Good to see you, man. I'll try to get by there sometime. You guys coming to the movies? Probably not. Yeah. I'll try to stop by. I'm spend a lot of time in Boone. Job I've got. 10-minute recess.
The members of the board have requested a 5-minute recess. We will recess and reconvene the meeting at 5 minutes past 9. 5 minutes past 9.
Bye. We're the good citizens that'll sit here.
Yeah. We come for other reasons, not for public comment.
Oh my goodness.
You made us wait for 2 hours.
It's okay. Sorry.
He did. Please feel free to come back. For 2 hours, no restrictions.
We were told 10 people would be allowed to talk. That's what 10 people wasn't allowed to talk.
Well, we didn't want to regulate it because we said everybody could sign up.
Well, that's why I didn't sign up, because they was over 10 people.
Because it said 10 people.
One of the commissioners.
Not me. No. And can Mandy restrict anyone to that? No, I mean, that's why we spent 2 hours.
I'm only here because these people are telling lies. And I wasn't going to speak, but now when they lie and lie and lie and lie and lie.
See, we feel like we're being depleted by
I got fired for wearing a button, so they scare me now.
Well, the thing is what we feel like, and my family's been here since Madison County opened land grants to people in the early
So you feel, everyone feels protected, but in a different way.
Well, she's my sister. But the thing is, though, what we feel like we're hearing all these shops, all the tourism. What about the people that live here? What about the people that's been here since the beginning of She needs to calm down. She's very upset. But they can't do that. Remember, at the beginning,
So I'm actually, I'm a PhD in social justice, and I'm actually reporting this for the sheriff and the chief deputy, who I work for both the sheriff's office and Montgomery County.
Well, my son's a deputy detective.
So it helps
sergeant
to
detective.
understand, in order to come up with a compromise, I have to understand both sides really well.
Well, with this side, this is their business, and all these people come in here.
But it sounds like, okay, yeah, no, I
see what we're saying.
It was at one point.
It was one-sided. They were told that 10 people.
There's 30-some people at home.
So, can I ask a couple questions so I make sure I have the information correctly? It is a state-of-the-art, so I'm trying to come up with a
Okay, let me explain.
Yeah.
One woman said,
It's fully enclosed.
one woman said that the site plan code did not have wastewater. The site plan is not even finished yet. How can she stand up there and tell me what's on the site plan?
So I think that everybody's willing to, it's in development. Nothing's been decided.
Well, they're saying it has been.
But you're saying it's not.
Nothing's there.
So it's in development and all these things are still being right. Is it state of the art, fully enclosed?
Yes, it's brand new.
Okay. So
and I have invited everybody to come and talk to me and look at it.
I thought you said state of the art was meant fully enclosed.
No.
No. And it has to be diesel, it can't go natural.
It's not going to be diesel. No, they kept saying diesel.
No, it's never going to be diesel.
So what is it going to be? Number 2. And it's never going to be diesel. Is that possible?
We don't have natural gas.
It's not possible.
Oh, no, not here.
Not even. So it's really the reason it's number 2 is because
we don't have it.
Is this your company too?
Yeah.
So you guys really are the ones that know what's going on here. So, is it possible to have number 2 oil or kerosene? Is it possible to have?
That's what you burn in your house.
I think it's
Is it possible to supplement that with a second, maybe?
You wouldn't want to.
You wouldn't want like some solar? I mean, this is the thing. For anything in this business, everybody has to be happy.
You don't have the stuff here that they want.
So these are additional things. So there's no room to compromise anything as far as energy. There's no way to put in like one solar panel.
Not unless the county wants to change everything.
So the county could provide.
If they want to put propane in, natural gas, if they want to put solar panels
Would you be willing
in,
to consider something if they were willing to provide it?
it would cost the county a fortune.
I think it's not about money. It's about
It's about
sure that we don't. So the county could provide.
They put their heart in. Oh yeah, from the like I said, when land opened, when the land grants opened us, we have been here. Our roots are so far in this ground.
When the land grants came.
Yes, that's how far our roots are.
But if the county could provide some sort of entry,
well, I sister, so she just too upset. She just said, she's not saying it wasn't good.
Because why? Because
we just feel like it's. Well, she thought
it's all like a personal attack.
Yes. Well, and not just to her. Yes. Not just that. It felt coming from somewhere else. All of them are. All of them, except for the backstabbing traitor behind us.
All right, 1 minute warning, folks. 1 minute warning.
Marcia's only one.
But anyway, so
she's got 1,200 people signed a petition for the program, for the asphalt. She has signed petitions.
Well, mine started.
Well, it's going to be on an already industrial site.
Yeah, no, no, I was just there and then somewhere else. So maybe like,
Where else to go?
get a little something somewhere and have a So that's
Oh
what I
my
need.
God,
That's
you
what I need to know.
they would get it.
All right, members of the board, members of the public, we are about to resume the meeting. It's 5 after 9, and we will now resume the regular agenda. The next item on the agenda is Sandy Stevenson.
Thanks for hanging with us, Sandy.
And thank for a few of you that decided to stay around. Was anyone, before you start, Seth, if I could ask, was any one of you in here down the hall? How was could you see in here? Okay, good.
We're going to send you pictures of us.
All right, well, and thank you, Sherry. Sherry and AB Tech went out of their way today to accommodate all of us, and we really appreciate that. We really appreciate that.
How many people were in that room, Sherry? I'm sorry, how many people were in that room? We had 3, actually.
Yeah.
3 rooms.
Yeah.
And that's how people that rooms. They were full.
Yeah, but anyway, the folks here at AB Tech made every accommodation humanly possible to allow us to put as many people here as we could. And Sherry, thank you very much for that. Thank you. All right, Sandy, you're up.
Thank you.
Thank you. I am here representing 3 different organizations. And the first one that I'm going to talk about is Rotary, and you all have this in your packets. This year I am the president of the Rotary Club of Madison County, and I did not know Sebastian was going to talk about how much money we bring in with our fundraisers that goes back into the county, but that's basically what I was going to point out to all of you. So,
well done.
Yes, we can shorten my talk a little bit. And most of that money goes to the youth of the county in forms of scholarships, as Sebastian pointed out, and other things that we do. We recognize a lot of the students and employees too. And we don't just raise the money for the youth, we do it for other things such as Beacon of Hope, Neighbors in Need, and we have other grant possibilities for anything that Madison County needs that we can come up with. So I am proud to be a Rotarian, and I'm asking that you do this formal proclamation. Madison County has been in a Rotary Club for 15 years, but Rotary International formed in 1905, and they do all of the things worldwide that we do here in our county. There are 1.2 million Rotary Club members in the world, and they sponsor service projects to address poverty, health, hunger, literacy, and environment in their local communities and abroad, which is what we do. So I am requesting that the Board of Commissioners of Madison County proclaim February 23rd, 2019, which is the anniversary of the founding of Rotary International, as Rotary Day in Madison County, and encourage all citizens to join us in recognizing Rotary International for its more than 100 years of service to improving the human condition in local communities around the world. So I'm requesting that of you, and don't know if you take that motion or whatever you call it right now and act on that.
The chair will entertain a motion to declare February the 23rd, 2019 as Madison County, and to declare it Rotary Day in Madison County.
So moved.
We have a motion.
Motion.
We have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand.
I am one of those speakers.
And thank you. And congratulations.
Thank you very much for doing that.
Rotary Day.
All right.
My second hat is as the, again, the director of the Madison County Visitor Center, and I'm delivering the annual report about the Madison County Visitor Center. And you have that in your packet also. The list is of the current members of the Visitor Center Board of Directors who met 4 times during this past year. The staff during 2018 until December the 1st was Lori Helms as the director, and I took on that job again. You may remember me, that I was it before. I'm back. And
like a bad penny, huh?
Yeah. I love doing it. It's not even a job. It's just pleasure.
You do enjoy that.
Yes, I do. Yeah. We had an annual income of $38,471 and in expenses of $34,426. And we had volunteer hours of 1,343 hours during the year because most of the hours are covered by volunteers. On the second page of what you received is the marketing report of what the Visitor Center does with TDA money, which included some billboards down in Buncombe County, ads in a few magazines, road tripping with WLOS, 50-second ads with WLS for tourism. So that is the report of the Visitor Center. Anybody has any questions about that?
Your Google Analytics are back up, I hope.
The Google Analytics are back up. The website I can't speak to as much as if we had Lori Helms, who is working on that, but we've been struggling with a website that has been changed a little bit, and they're going through growing pains. So. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Okay. We'll just hope it's back up for you.
It is. Yes.
All right. All right.
That it? Okay. All right. Third hat that I'm wearing tonight is as the president of the board of the Appalachian Barn Alliance, and hopefully those of you who are in here know what it is, and if you don't, we are a nonprofit that formed in 2012 to honor the history of Madison County and the culture, the agricultural heritage that is exemplified by the barns. And we have been documenting barns and putting together self-guided driving tours. The latest one that we've done is South Marshall, and we're continuing to document the historically significant barns of the county. We have over 100 barns that our researcher Taylor Barnhill has completed the documentation on. We are working now with our second phase, which is establishing a heritage farmstead. I'm really excited about that. It's going to take us a while, but we're working on that. And that heritage farmstead will be some property somewhere in Madison County, and it will have on it an example of the different architectural types of barns. And we had one donated a couple of years ago from the Ray Thomas family, a flue-cured barn, and this past year Larry Berta and Genevieve Berta donated a Burley tobacco barn. So we've got 2 barns that we can move to that spot. We have a lot of implements that have been donated, and I would like to personally thank Commissioner Brigman. I heard today from David Wyatt that he is giving us a bunch of his farm implements, and we've got a good start. We're going to put the stories that we've collected, the pictures that we've collected, and all of that into a museum on this heritage farmstead. So watch for the news on that. We keep doing fundraising events. Our membership is growing, and we increased our membership by 18% last year. We're really excited about that. We've expanded into doing van tours of the county with the help of TDA money to help us rent those vans. And next year, or this year, sorry, we're in this year, we're going to have one a month. So beginning April through October. We've got a new fundraising event that we're really excited about, and there's a group in Asheville called the Saints of Paint who have gotten together And instead of giving the 50% of the sale of their art to a gallery, they decided that they would give it to a nonprofit. They approached us, which we were really excited about. So we're hosting a gala event on June 21st, the solstice, can't forget that one. And we hope we get 50% of the sales, and we have the event, we get all of the ticket money. So we're looking for more ways to continually raise money. And May is Barn Month, so don't forget about that. Zuma supports us with an exhibit of the 200 years of barn evolution. The Arts Council supports us with the Barns of Madison County exhibit of photography, and some of the restaurants throughout the county support us with giving a percentage of their profits for that day. And I'd like to also thank your county manager for agreeing to decorate the hall or the lobby and one of the hallways in the bypass offices. We're going to have that 200 years of barn evolution in a smaller form and some other barn pictures. So we're happy about that. Happy to make that a pretty area and really show what we have for a beautiful heritage. Okay.
Thank you.
And Matt, we can now, if we take down anything or we get stuff donated, we've got Larry Berta's barn to store it in, so I don't have to look for chicken places anymore.
I'll get off the hot list on that then. Yes, ma'am.
Any questions from any of you on the barn line?
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you letting me have the time to do this. Thank you.
Thanks for hanging with us.
Yeah.
Is Mr. Sparks here? Mr. Sparks, you're up.
All right. Good evening.
Good evening.
I may be offering famous last words, but I'm from DOT and I'm here to help. No.
I've sat through your presentations before. I know
You've
that.
sat through my presentation.
Now, gentlemen, I think we may need to clear, you're going to do a projection, correct?
Yes.
All right, so we are going to need to move to the side
Does the
and
thing come down?
allow the screen to work.
Yeah, might want to pull it down.
Clicks usually gets it.
You can come sit in the front row.
Stay. There it goes.
Okay. Cannot get this.
These chairs are pretty comfy. Much better than the courthouse.
They don't squeak, do
They don't. Oh man, those were so bad. It's just coming.
I can see
Oh,
it.
yep, I see it.
It's coming. It's warming up.
It's warming up.
Anyone got popcorn?
All right. Good evening. I am Stephen Sparks.
I'll get it.
There you go.
There you go.
I work for the Department of Transportation, and
That's good.
I'm here to give a presentation on how we fund our transportation projects. So, getting started, there was a previous perception of the way we funded projects that there were a bunch of old men sitting in the back room smoking their cigars, and as you can read, you know, hey, I want to build I-40, but hey, I also need my road that goes by my house paved. So that was the thought. The truth of it was the system was based on an old equity formula. It was very opaque. It wasn't transparent. Projects were not linked together. We didn't plan out corridors well. Around 2008, we came up with this new idea called strategic transportation investments. We included a new funding formula. It was, believe it or not, it was, in today's world, it received bipartisan support in the state legislature, so much so that in 2013, House Bill 817 signed into law the Strategic Transportation Investments Law. It was the most significant change in how we funded our project since the 1989 adoption of the trust fund. Created a prioritization work group, provide recommendations to NCDOT on weights and criteria of how we select projects. So where do they come from? Well, believe it or not, Madison County has a comprehensive transportation plan. That is where we pull a good portion of our projects. It is not the only source, but it is a big source for us. So as I said, we start with long-range transportation plans, and we get those plans funded. So what is the mechanism for funding those projects? It's called prioritization. And I like Schoolhouse Rock back in the day, and I love the little "I'm Just a Bill." You've heard the song. But like all bills want to become a law, every project that we run through prioritization, we would like to see it get funded. So if we start out with the transportation budget, 100% of it, 20% of those funds are broken up into statewide mobility. And when you think of statewide projects, you're going to think about the interstates, belt lines, more locally I-26, I-40. Then we get down to regional impact. When we think about those, think about US 2570, NC 213. There's more to this, but I'll get to that later on in my presentation. And the last one is division needs. And these are our secondary roads. It's our bike ped, local transit. That's where all those projects get funded. And to muddy the waters even more, say you get a project, an interstate project at the statewide level that doesn't get funded, you can fund it at the regional and at the division needs level, as well as if a regional project does not get funded at its tier, it can also be funded down at the division needs level. So what are the highway weights and criteria? Statewide mobility, those are the criteria. We plug these numbers that we get in congestion, benefit cost, freight, safety, the economic competitiveness of the project. And we put it into a monstrously huge spreadsheet that compiles all the data from crash to the number of percent trucks, the benefit and the cost benefit of it, the safety of the project, which includes all the accidents along the corridor. And we plug it into this spreadsheet. It gives out a number. That number, we have me and the RPO. We have no input on how that project gets funded. It just is funded based on how it scores with all the other projects in the state of North Carolina. So, as I said, that's 100%. We don't have any control. Now you go down to the regional level, same criteria, more or less, but they only make up 70% of that score. So it can score a maximum of 70 out of 100. So where do the other 30 points come from? Well, we break it up evenly between the North Carolina Department of Transportation Division the project is in, as well as the MPO or RPO the project is in. On the bottom is division needs. Again, same criteria, but this time it only makes up 50% of the total score, and the remaining 50% is contributed by the RPO, MPO, or the division that the project resides in. As I said, today's roadmap, we break the state of North Carolina up into 14 divisions, from the East Coast all the way to the Western Mountains. Madison County, it's hard to read, but it is in Division 13, and Division 13 is grouped with Division 14 into Funding Region G. That's where I talk about those regional projects. So a project in Madison County only competes at the regional level with all the counties in the western part of the state, the 17 counties that make up our two most western divisions. And at the division needs level of Madison County Transportation Project would only compete against the project in Division 13, which would be Madison, Yancey, Mitchell, Buncombe, McDowell, Burke, and Rutherford. Now the P6.0 schedule, I don't know if you can read that. It probably looks something like the fine print on your credit card application. But prioritization is a 2-year-long process. We are currently in the very beginning of it. The subcommittee is meeting and establishing our weights and criteria. Around June or July, we will be given freedom to start entering new projects into the spreadsheet, which then we'll spend another year going through, scoring them, coming up with the scores, assigning the points. And by December of 2020, yes, a little more than 2 years from now, a little under 2 years from now, we will come up with another STIP. We are currently have our draft STIP, which hopefully will be approved in June by the Board of Transportation. But if we go through all of that and your project gets, and it makes it into the draft STIP, it will be released. It's a 10-year funding document. It includes projects, statewide, regional, and divisions. Other projects that are included in it are interstate maintenance, safety, and bridge, though we do not score a bridge project. They're based upon the condition of the bridge, so obviously we don't want to spend 2 years arguing over whether a bridge could get funded or not. If it needs to be replaced, we want to replace it when it needs to be. But it is this is a little old, but it's typically about 50%. What we prioritize is about 50% of the DOT budget, and it is approved by the Board of Transportation. And this is my contact information. I was not as, this is probably not as exciting as the asphalt plant discussion, but I was happy to come and give my presentation. If you have any questions about any projects or have any ideas for projects, don't hesitate to give me a call. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Here, appreciate your patience too. All right. Somebody get the lights.
Here you go. I'll leave that on. There you go.
Thank you, Forrest. Wayne, you got it?
I think so.
Just hang on to it. It'll take you right through the roof.
Just like a window shade, don't go too far though.
Do what?
So just like your window shade, don't go too far.
See, we saved $150 by not putting in an electric mower.
Well done.
All right. Yeah, you want to kill that man?
I don't
Buy the
feel
new
stoned now.
batteries.
Oh, thank you.
That's what I need for it.
If we all look down at the floor for the next 2 hours, you'll go fine. All right. Next up on is Dr. Kathy, if you'll come up and talk to us about the voting systems replacement update.
This will probably be the least popular discussion of the night because
That may not be on.
we're going to be talking about your money.
There we go. Yeah.
What I wanted to do tonight was just to update you folks on where we are with the purchase of the voting equipment and talk with you a little bit about the status of the Board of Elections. Before I get started though, I want to thank all of you for all of the support and the encouragement that was given to the Board of Elections during the move, the relocation, during the election. I want you all to know that you have the best departments in the state of North Carolina working right here in Madison County. Everybody fell in, the IT department, the maintenance department, the finance department, even your county manager. He got down and dirty and rolled up his sleeves and his pant legs. And we moved. So my hat is off to everyone. And I do want to compliment the work that the Deputy Director Wade Hagan does. He is excellent at his job, and we are so blessed to have him. We do have the makings of a Board of Elections in progress. As you all know, our board was suspended with legislation back in December, and it is coming together now. We have 4 members that have been appointed, and the chair will be naming the governor will be naming the chair. So we're waiting now on that particular activity to take place, and as soon as the chair is appointed, then he can set the meeting of the other members. So we will have a 5-member board. So that is a change for us. As you all know, Senate Bill 486, Section 311, decertified our Ivotronic touchscreen voting machines as of December the 1st, 2019. And we have 83 of these machines that we've used since 2006. We're one of 24 counties that is left to make the conversion to the paper ballot tabulators by that deadline. So everyone is in process of trading in the old and bringing in the new. On December the 11th of 2018, the Board of Elections met, and they did authorize me to go ahead and negotiate with ES&S, who is our vendor, to purchase the paper ballot tabulators. And Forrest attended that meeting and had some good discussion with our board members, but they did want to go ahead and begin the development of the contract with ES&S, which we have done. I hope that they have in their packets the contract.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and
yes.
And they also have the information that I forwarded on to you about that contract. As the contract reads, we need to purchase 18 of the DS200 digital imagers. We already have 2 on hand, and we've consulted with the State Board of Elections, the voting systems manager, and also with other counties about the appropriate number of machines for us to have, and 20 seemed to be the good solid number so that we could make sure that we conduct an adequate election and not run short. So there will be 18 of those reflected in your contract. Now keep in mind that this is just the first phase of the voting equipment that we're going to need. We're also going to need in the future to purchase 14 Americans with Disabilities Act ballot markers. It will either be a machine called the Automark or the Express Vote if the Express Vote is certified, but that's looming out there. Also, we're going to need to purchase voting booths. They will be the standalone booths that the voters can walk up to with their paper ballots and mark their ballots, and we have determined that we will need 80 of those booths. We already have 8 on hand, so there should be an adequate number of voting booths at each voting site with that number. I'm looking at preliminary numbers for the 1488 ballot markers. Wade and I ran some numbers this morning on those that I'll give you in just a few minutes, and then the voting booths themselves, we're looking at about $16,000. I'm projecting they're going to cost about $200 a piece. Now those voting booths, of course, can be used from election to election. So, you know, it's not, it will be a one-time purchase, and hopefully they'll serve us for a lot of years if we take good care of them. Okay, in your contract, if you'll look at that, it's to purchase the 18 machines. We have successfully used these machines during the 2018 elections, and we did also test those same machines, the DS200s, in 2014 during the general election. So we're not newbies at this. We've got some experience with them.
Does that count as your formal test?
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then the contract itself, as I understood when we purchased the 2 DS200s that we already currently have, your county attorney, Donny Reid, did require that a clause be added to that contract. And so I did have to send what you see in front of you back to the company and ask them to make sure that that clause was included. And you'll see that in section 13, paragraph 2. And then items A through E are the items that he did request be added, and they are there for us. This contract includes a $6,600 credit for the unused support days that we purchased in the former purchase of the 2 DS200s that we used in 2018. I have to brag a little, we're so good, we had 2 days we didn't need. So we're getting credit back for those 2 days, and they did count that toward the purchase price of the 18. This contract also includes $11,604 that credit for the unused portion of the 2019 hardware and software maintenance agreement. So you're going to see that coming off the bottom line of the purchase price. Good thing about the contract also is that it includes a 1-year warranty on the new equipment beginning with the first day of delivery. So there will be a 1-year warranty period in which we will not have to pay that hardware and software maintenance agreement for that equipment.
But the 1-year warranty would not fall under the time frame of an election, correct?
Yes.
It will.
As soon as those machines are delivered, you will have a 1-year period. So it will cover at least the presidential primary.
Okay.
And as you know, the presidential primary this time is May the 3rd. Can you believe that? May the 3rd. We'll be having that presidential primary. Okay. Our maintenance and software contract is going to be much less with the new equipment, and I was really pleased to see this. Last year we cut a check for $23,445 for that software and hardware maintenance agreement. And with the new machines, now this is just the 18, or the 20, I'm sorry, the 20 DS200s that we'll have on hand. It will cost us, once the warranty period has expired, $5,300 per year for those. Now, there will be the additional cost to cover the ADA ballot markers when they come, but I'm really looking at numbers. I'm thinking in the ballpark of $10,000 all of the election equipment, which is significantly less than what we paid for the 83 Optronics and the 2 DS200s who we're using. Go ahead, Mr.
How many ballot markers?
We'll need 14.
14, okay.
Of the ADA ballot markers. That'll give us 1 per precinct.
I got you, yeah.
Yeah.
I misunderstood.
Yeah.
I heard you say 14 earlier, and then I heard 88, and I didn't connect the two. Okay. Thank you.
The other 2 will be, of course, if we had some type of failure, we need some on hand.
Sure.
To deploy. Okay. All right, and you know, in looking at our budget this time, I think that Forrest and I will be working together to try to look at some of the line items. For example, the savings, the $23,000 we have set in that line item for the hardware maintenance software agreement. We can tap quite a bit of that money now because we know we're not going to need it going forward because those contracts are paid a year in advance, so we can be having that discussion about how we're going to use some of this money to offset the cost. Go ahead and make these purchases out of our budget rather than having to ask the commissioners to fund those items. Okay. Now there's a 6-step process in this, so we are at step 4. The first step, of course, is demonstration of the equipment that we propose to buy, which we have done over and over again since 2014. Then there's the preliminary recommendation. Then there's the test, which we have completed at least 3 or 4 times since we began this initiative to purchase this equipment. And then, of course, there's State Board of Elections approval. Now that's where we are right now, is that all of this has been submitted. The contract's been submitted. The request form for us to purchase the equipment has been submitted to the State Board of Elections. Now, once we get their approval, then we will come back to you from the Board of Elections and we will make our final recommendation to you to approve or refuse to adopt and acquire this equipment. So, you know, again, we're at step 4. That contract's been submitted now for a couple of weeks. I've had a conversation with voting systems down there. The state board, as you know, has kind of been in flux as well. They're just now getting a state board in place, 5 members seated, so things have kind of slowed down as the just the organization has come together. So we expect to see things move pretty quickly now in terms of even certification of new voting equipment. So we anticipate at any time that things will start moving along. Okay, so no action required tonight. Just know that it is coming. Hang on to your contracts. We will be back as soon as we get that state board approval, and I'll be asking you for 2 things. I'll be asking for you to approve or, you know, of course at your discretion, to refuse to make the purchase. And also, if we move forward with the purchase of this particular vendor and set of equipment, I will be asking for you to authorize to let the company pick up the old Ivotronic equipment that we have, those 83 machines, as soon as possible. And we currently have those machines stored. Everything's ready to roll out as soon as we get the ball moving here. So just anticipate that it's likely going to be pretty quick. I will also be bringing to you, we've got to test the ADA ballot marker that we're going to use in 2018. We've got to test during the November municipal elections. That's coming up November the 5th of 2019. And so we will be renting what is called the Automark. If the express vote is not certified, we'll be renting 4 of those for the municipal election. The rental of those 4 machines will be in the neighborhood of $2,000, but that will satisfy the testing as well as get us through the election. We won't have to break out the Ivotronics and be trying to run 3 different voting systems if we initiate this particular plan. Okay?
All right. Gentlemen,
Thank you.
Questions for Dr.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to say that I think the county and the Board of Elections have handled this very well. There's still a lot of detail to go, but back in 2014, the board commissioners agreed, I think Commissioner Brigman's the only one who was here at that time, to set aside some money in capital outlay, knowing this was coming. At the time, didn't set aside enough for what potentially it could have cost. And Dr. Ray and the Board of Elections have looked since that time and gone because of practice, have really pared that down some to the most essential. So it's still a big expense for the county, but it's significantly less than what it could have been. And we have the money saved to do it. And as Director Ray was saying, there's money from this year's budget that will help offset some of that even more, so that there is some money for building repairs and vehicles and things like that.
Excellent.
So, very excellent.
We won't be running the Cadillac model, which is what you saw numbers for before, but this model will get us through elections, and I think we'll be in good shape for voting equipment. The ADA markers, we're looking in the neighborhood of about 60,000. That's what we project. For those, the contract you're looking at there is 70. And then if we're looking at the 16 for the voting booths, you know, we should be, now there will be some other, of course, some other costs, but those 3 things are the big things to fund.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you, and Wade, and your board.
Absolutely. I shall convey that you all have been informed.
Thank you, Dr. Ray.
Take care. Take care. Philip, come on down.
Good evening. I am in front of you today to request funding $19,720 for 50 IP phones that we're going to use to complete our conversion of the remaining departments that aren't yet on the new internet phone technology. These are departments that have phone systems that are 15 years old, so they'll have to be replaced anyway. They're well past their usage date, expiration date. Once we make the switch, we'll be able to eliminate 25 copper lines, which will end up saving nearly for estimated $3,451 a month. So we should be able to break even on the initial purchase in under half a year.
Pays for itself in less than half a year.
So, and these are systems that are in dire need of replacement anyway. They're showing their age. They don't have caller ID. So, yeah, and this will get all the county on the same page as far as how the phones work, make training easier, things like that. A lot of benefits.
Does this sync up with their computers and everything too, or will they have the ability to do so in the future?
There are a couple of things you can do to make it work with the computer, but it's not something that we're currently using. This new system has it's already in place at DSS and a lot of the county departments. We're not really using a lot of the features. It's just ends up being a super cost-efficient way of kind of having everybody share the phone bill pretty much. Instead of having lines going to every building, we just have one big block of lines, and then all the phones can dial into the block and make the phone or the calls through the internet pretty much. So.
All right. And I just want to commend Philip and his department. Philip's work on this. This has been an effort over several years. The biggest departments are out of the way. It saves us money in the long run, and that's really how you heard from Kathy as well earlier. We're saving a lot of money that enables us to do other things for the county because of looking at things like this. So it's a big move, good move. He almost freaked out talking about putting it with computers. Their number of tickets is up significantly because the three of them are very patient with all of us users in the county. And there are things that some of us cavemen don't know how to use very well. There it's broken. They're very patient people. Yep. They're good in all of them.
Yep.
So you have more operator errors than you do machinery breakdowns? Is that what he's trying to say? Good answer. Good answer.
Yeah.
Phil, thank you.
Let it roll.
So the upfront money for this would come from contingency. We have $180,000 there.
Okay. That was my next question.
I forgot, we didn't put that in budget, but we will get that.
Okay. Well, we do need to approve this tonight.
Yeah.
All right.
Mr. Chair?
Any questions?
No.
All right. The chair will entertain a motion.
I will move that we take $19,720 for our new phone service.
I'll second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Again, good work. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil.
All right. Mandy, do we have a few of these handouts on the Duke thing available? Mark, chime in here with me. Commissioner Snelson and I, a couple of weeks ago, had lunch with one of the VPs of Duke Energy and a number of folks in Hot Springs, some elected and some community folks. And fundamentally, Duke is applying to the State Utilities Commission for the construction of a 3 megawatt solar operation and a 4 megawatt lithium storage facility in Hot Springs. A multi-million-dollar investment. The handout that you see, and if we don't get enough of them, I'm going to give you a gentleman's name, or you can contact Mandy for more information, and it's Jason Walls at Duke Energy. You occasionally see him on television. He's sort of the face of Duke Energy. When they had on TV the other night, Long Shoals Road was shut down, he was the young man in the beard who was telling them, you know, how long it was going to take. But fundamentally, they will be moving forward through the State Utilities Commission. The purpose of this is to improve electric reliability in Hot Springs and for the approximately 80 customers in Marshall that are still on Duke Energy. And this will be one of the largest solar projects of its kind in the entire Duke system. To give you an example, it is 4 times the size of the one you see on the Biltmore estate as you drive through Ashland. 4 times that size. It is housed on the grounds of the plant at Hot Springs. And Frankie Jenkins was at the meeting with us. He is the president of Peerless North America. And the German owners have signed a long-term lease to allow most of the free land on that industrial site to be used for this project. So it's a real boost to the community. Please feel free to check it out and find out more information. Hopefully it will be coming to a neighborhood near us as early as construction beginning within a year. The exact cost is not yet determined, other than it will be a multi-million-dollar project, and it goes on the tax books for both the town of Hot Springs and Madison County, and there is no local investment involved in it. Also, another issue was raised: would it increase the rates for the folks in Madison County? Absolutely not. That's in that umbrella package. So this is a major investment in reliability and a major investment in the community. And yeah, that's about all I can say. Mark, what would you like to?
Good job, North.
You gotta go. But find out more about it. Get tuned into it, and it's an investment by a huge utility. And the biggest thing, guys, it will improve reliability of electric service in that end of Madison County, which is problematic just due to the fact that the line goes over the hill and down the dale forever. And so this is a way to, they think it will carry the town and the plant even without any solar for up to 72 hours. When the sun is shining, it will put power back in the grid. It will more than power what's down there now. So again, please go to Duke Energy, check it out. It's called the Hot Springs Project. Find out more information about it.
And thank you to Peerless Blowers and Madison Manufacturing for letting them utilize the property.
Yes, they were very significant. Thank you, Matt.
I used to be in NASCAR, so I had a plug whenever I got a chance.
Well, and Matt and I have been down and talked to the folks.
Where the
down
sponsorship?
There. They are investing heavily. They want to go to 2 shifts. They're like a lot of other people. They need help, and they need more bodies. But they have committed a huge investment to making sure that plant stays in Hot Springs and converting it into a modern industrial facility. And they certainly did not have to give that long-term lease to Duke. They could have easily held on to that property. And so kudos to our German owner and to the local plant manager. Actually, president of Peerless. His name's Frankie Jenkins. If you're down there, go knock on his door and say you want to talk to him.
And he's always looking for good employees too.
Yes,
so if anybody, they pay higher than average wages.
Yes.
For Madison County, they're a good outfit. I'll stop plugging, but they need all the help. They're looking for good people to work down there.
So if you know somebody that would like to move back to Madison County, and just check it out. In fact, almost everybody industrially in Madison County is hiring. You can talk to any of them. There's others. Yeah. Okay.
Do we need to have a motion about the letter, Norris?
No, I think we agree.
That's already been resolved. Very good. Thank you.
And the commissioners are going to send a letter of support to the Utilities Commission. We have discussed that, just a generic letter. Okay. All right. Sure you don't want to add, Mark?
No.
You get it next time. All right. Brooke, you're up. Blue folder.
Normally use this. I don't know, is it on? Is it on? Out.
The light on?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a light.
There you go.
Okay.
All right.
Just gotta talk into it.
Just gonna talk into it.
There you go.
It's a little past my bedtime. All right, so it's been a busy month in HR, so I've got a few hires here for you tonight. So first up is in our health department, is for a school nurse. So there's been a vacancy recently, and the state requires that we have a registered nurse, preferably one that has a BSN, to fill the nurse position. So the interview team worked to interview candidates that met the state requirements. And after doing all of this, the interview team is recommending that Christy Waldrop be hired as a school nurse.
Any questions? No. All right.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we hire Christy Walter for our school nurse position.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor of employing Christy Waldrop, please raise your right hand.
Moving along. In the solid waste department, recently you all approved a little bit of a restructuring of staff after a retirement, and that created a vacancy for a roll-off driver. This position drives the big open-top trucks that you see throughout the county that pick up and transport the containers, the compact containers, at each collection center and takes them back to the landfill and puts empty ones at the collection center. So it's a big job and it requires a CDL license. After completing interviews, the interview team and I are here to request that James Treadway be hired as a roll-off driver in the solid waste department.
Okay, thank you, Brooke.
Mr. Chair, I move that we hire James Treadway as our roll-off driver in the solid waste department.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor of employing James Treadway, please raise your right hand.
All right, moving to our library department. The library keeps like a Rolodex of folks who are on call to fill in for the position of circulation clerk when needed. This position is part-time, temporary substitute in nature. It provides customer service to library patrons by greeting them and assisting them and also checking them in and out. After completing interviews, I'm here on behalf of the interview team to request that Donna Springer, Jamie Rigsby, and Tracy Helton be approved as part-time substitute circulation clerks in the library.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I move that Donna Springer, Jamie Rigsby, and Tracy Helton all be hired as substitute, or be approved as substitute circulation clerks in the library system.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to employ Donna Springer, Jamie Rigsby, and Tracy Helton. All those in favor, raise your right hand.
All right, staying in the library department. As you all know, the previous library director left to pursue a wonderful opportunity on the other side of the state. That means that there's been a vacancy for a director of the best small library in America. The state has very strict requirements for who can fill the position of library director if we wish to receive state aid, and we do. So we were lucky enough to receive quite a few applicants that met that, and after completing interviews, the interview team and I are pleased to request that Sharon Stack be approved as the director of the Madison County Public Library.
Mr. Chair, I recommend that we employ Sharon Stack as our director of the county library system.
Motion?
I'll second, Mr. Chair.
And a second. All those in favor of employing Sharon Stack as the new director of the Madison County Public Library, please raise your right hand.
last bit of personnel that I've got for you tonight is for a restructure in the inspections and zoning department. This restructuring brings an opportunity to see some budget savings while maintaining staffing levels and services to the public. So I'm formally requesting your approval for the restructuring items in the inspections and zoning department.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
On a motion and a second, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you, Brooke.
All right, I've got one last thing. It's the EAN contract. All right. The EAN is the Employee Assistance Network. And in February of 2017, the board approved for Madison County government to partner with the Employee Assistance Network to provide employees and their family members living within their homes with free counseling on a number of things. They provide counseling for the things like anger management, depression, substance abuse, budgeting, you name it. It is always confidential, and the county never knows who uses or receives the service or for what. The only exception to this is if an employee is referred as part of a management referral, and then all we know is if they complied or not. The EAN also provides on-site training to staff, and tomorrow, I'm really excited, we're having department head staff training with the EAN, so we're getting our money's worth. This service is really cost effective. It's only $16 per employee, and since we began this partnership, we've included it in our budget every year, and it's in the current budget. So tonight, what I'm asking for is your approval to authorize the county manager to sign the EAN renewal contract so that we may receive this service for another year. It's already been looked at and reviewed by Attorney Moss.
Just for clarification, that's $16 per employee per year.
Per year.
Yes.
So it is a bargain.
Yes.
Right.
Slightly more than $1 per employee per month.
And I know it's confidential, this information.
Oh, it's completely confidential.
But have we had employees take advantage of this?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
No, thank you.
We don't know which ones.
No, I'm not asking. I'm not asking. I'm just.
We can't give you any names.
I don't want any names. I just want to know, is it being utilized?
All right. Any other questions or discussions? Okay, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the contract between Madison County and the Employee Assistance Network and authorize the county manager to sign said contract.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Motion?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please raise our right hands. Thank you. Thank you, Brooke. And by the way, this has been a wonderful addition. It really has. Thank you. Ms. Rhea, you're up.
Hello. I will add, the EAN is wonderful. I myself have partaken in personal one-on-one counseling with them on a couple of topics, and I've also attended their Leadership Academy, which is something we've had several of our department heads do. It's a wonderful program done over a few months, and it's just good. You get lots of resources. You can bounce ideas off of them. Take some of the burden off of Brooke to try and educate our department heads and some of our staff. So tonight, the first thing I want to share with you is our financials. Page 1, you can see on here the total unrestricted cash or bank account balances we have is just over $9 million. Our total unassigned and unrestricted balances is just over $3.3 million, with the bulk of that being in the general fund. This money, again, will continue to carry us through the end of the year, meeting the needs that we have for our budget. We are currently at 58.3% of our budget year. On page 2, I did forget 3 little things on the summaries page, and I'll add them as we go around if you don't mind to write them in. On the general fund, year to date, currently we're at a $2 million surplus. Again, that will reduce as we spend throughout the year. We have already made a good portion of our debt payments. I think we only have the cooperative extension loan left to pay out, which is only $55,000. We don't normally pay them until February, March, but we've had, the cash has come in January pretty well, so we went ahead and paid those out. While we had the funds sitting in a bank account, we didn't have to move it from our cash management account. So on that, and on the general fund, if you'll add the contingency dollar amount, as of the time of these financial statements, it was $193,830.16.
Can you repeat that, please?
Yes, sir. $193,830.16.
Okay.
On the landfill, year to date, we are sitting just under 400,000 in surplus. I know they do have some equipment purchases that Forrest has been discussing with Sam, looking at some equipment needs, and we're waiting on our audit numbers to come in. Impatiently waiting would be a good answer for that. As I'm talking with them weekly to try and figure out when we're going to get those numbers. And the contingency balance, if you'll add this for them, is $3,177.89. $3,177.89. And then on to the 911 emergency telephone services. This fund is set to budget very close. You know, all the revenues and expenses are very close to what they bring in and pay out all year long. So they're only at $3,871 surplus for the year. And they do have some equipment maintenance, I believe they need to do. If you'll add on their contingency line, which is 0. Overall, you know, we've been doing pretty good on expenses and revenues, keeping a close eye on them, and we're getting into that budget crunch time. We know how that comes for the end of the year, and as we prepare for next year's budget, we'll continue to look at those. Does anybody have any questions on this part of the financials?
Having paid those, I was freaking out. I looked and saw the 400,
yes,
close to $1 million in school debt payment and jail payment was made in January. That was made in February last year. So that's good.
Yes.
And having $190,000 in contingency at this point in the year, less than $20,000 for phones, but that it's going to be it's a good place to be.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments? Nope. All right.
The next thing you'll see is the list of vendors that we've paid during the month of January. The QSCB, which is the school loan for their repairs that we've been doing for the last several years, is coming to a close. It actually, we have to pay out our last bit this week. So you will see there's checks that will be written this week, but this January gets the majority of the rest of those funds spent, which includes lots of different things. So they're doing some good work up there. We've of course had to refund overpayments of taxes, which is quite normal. There was nothing out of the ordinary other than those school or the debt payments that were just paid early. So.
Let's see, they installed the security. Yeah. Does any member of the board have any question relative to those expenditures? No. Okay.
Okay. If you guys don't mind, I would like to jump down to letter E, which is the lottery funds, before I do my budget amendment. So the school has requested if they could receive some of their lottery funds, a total of $184,500 that the state holds of lottery money for them, that has to funnel through us to get to the schools in order to make the last 2 payments on their energy loan for the FY19 school year. I wanted to bring this up because this is in part of our budget amendment, so I want you guys to know about this before we get to the amendment, okay? So, yes, so the school has asked for that. And the only reason we have to put it on amendment is because it literally flows through our budget. It is not our money, it is the school's money, but the way the state set it up, the state holds money. We have to ask for the money and then pay it to the school.
It's a good use by the school. I mean, it's their business, but I commend them for looking at how to pay some of that energy loan, which is a pretty big expense. By using those funds, then that frees up other funds that they can use for things that are more exciting.
Yeah,
it's a good thing.
Yeah. And just as an observation, over the last couple of years, the board has worked very hard to pass funds more directly to the Board of Education without the traditional almost coming and begging mentality that some of you, if you were here years ago, would find the school system or the superintendent would come literally begging for $10,000 to patch up a bathroom. And so both boards have worked together, but this board in particular has moved to free that money as quickly as possible and put it in the hands of where it belongs. We don't need to try to run the school system. And, but anyway, that's been good progress that's been made by this board and its members, and I want to thank them for that. I think that's for Forrest and everybody working in that direction.
We always appreciate it. Thank you.
Makes things run smoother and better. Okay.
Forrest, do we need to vote on that?
Yeah, y'all need to approve that. Yeah.
Mr. Chair, there's no more questions?
Okay.
No more discussion? And I request that we release the $184,500 and 4042 money for the
lottery funds.
Excuse me?
Of lottery funds.
Of lottery fund.
I believe this is an integral part of Budget Amendment 9.
Yeah, that's a point of order. Shouldn't we do that all as the budget amendment versus doing this individually?
Is it in? You need to, just to be safe, approve it because we haven't used to it just with lottery funds within the schools.
Okay.
Standards changed where we need to approve it and we could get written up for it. So go ahead.
Okay, so we'll do a double motion. Okay, excellent. So Commissioner Brigman's initial motion stands for the $184,500 in lottery funds. Yes. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second for a portion of the budget amendment relating to lottery funds. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All right.
Okay, thank you. On with budget amendments. So I have 2 budget amendments for you, Budget Amendment 9 and 9B. So on Budget Amendment 9, you will see, yes, that should be letter B in your regular packet.
Page 63, if that helps you.
Well, I've got 9B.
9B was a separate handout.
Yeah.
Wayne can share with you.
Oh, okay.
Okay, gotcha.
So Budget Amendment 9.
If you got it right here, that's fine. That's cool. No problem.
Okay. We got in our annual bill for workman's compensation and unemployment insurance, and we've had some savings there. So this budget amendment removed those excess expense budgets and throws them back into a revenue neutral state by offsetting some taxes we have not, I don't know the right word for that. It's not that we haven't collected, but that we are seeing as less collectible.
Back tax is just as everybody's reminded, those of you who were here last year, we had been weaning ourselves off those prior year's taxes for several years. We budgeted $550,000 this year, either that or $660. I'm sorry if I'm wrong on that, but one of those two. And we include in that surplus sales of things that were owed taxes on from a couple of years ago. We did the budget. I thought we could assign, whenever we sell that, we can say this much went to 2010 taxes. Can't do that with our software. So we just had sale as a revenue, but we need to reduce those annual revenues. It's revenue neutral, but it's a way to actually keep that number accurate. So it's all the way it should be, but we didn't want to grow, we didn't want to increase expenses or think we could increase expenses when it's just really a different spot for the money to come from.
Understood. Yeah, understood.
Cool.
The other two things on here, we have seen a change in the transportation budget. We've had to offset some of the admin salaries into operating. They found some places to cut expenses, so we were able to do that so it doesn't cost the county any extra money there. And then our interest income that we are receiving on our cash management is up from what we've projected, so there's an increase in that. And that is budget amendment 9A. Can we also talk about 9B at the same time? You guys good with that? 9B, the federal funds for DSS have come in with increased revenue for heating assistance. That was a piece of paper that was just laid on your desktop there. So they have received an extra $78,000 in federal funds for heating assistance. So that's the bulk of that, as well as putting the state lottery money on there for the schools. And the third thing on there is every year we get a check for some timber receipts that has to go to the school system. So we've received our $743 for that this year. And so I need to put it on the budget so I can send it to the school system.
It used to be thousands. It was thousands at one time.
Yeah.
Yes.
They've changed their allocation process for that, and I think last year we got $11,000, if I'm not mistaken. And this year we only got $743.
We're not trying to talk any not here. We were mumbling among ourselves that with all the federal timber land in Madison County, that we get $734.
Wow.
43. Let's not.
It used to be
44.
11,000. I mean.
Yeah.
So yes, that's a big.
So Congress, that. Okay.
Real quick question on this for the DSS category there. We got the crisis Haywood Elect. Is that money that they didn't spend, so then is getting redistributed to other counties?
I'm not sure. I was just told, hey, we got updated funding authorizations,
okay,
and here's where it goes.
All right.
Yes, ma'am. I believe that's
most likely that.
Yes, it was reviewed at the DSS board, and our share of that was that.
Yeah, very good.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, good question. All right. Any other questions reference to Budget Amendment 9 and the balance of Budget Amendment 9B? Okay. The chair will entertain a motion to approve Budget Amendment 9 and the balance of Budget Amendment 9B, not including the lottery, which we've already approved. Have a motion?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Okay.
All right. Next, I have for you the tax releases and refunds from the tax department. I find these forms a little harder to read than before. Since this comes straight out of their new system, it looks like a total of $3,658.15.
No. It's very fine print.
Yeah, that is very small.
Like that's blind man print.
You can
3, 6, yeah, okay.
3, 6, 58,
Yep.
15, I believe.
Yep. It really is there. Yeah. I thought trifocals worked.
Do we feel comfortable with this in our new system we have?
Yeah, yeah. It's just the print. It's not the numbers.
If y'all would use your computers, you can blow it up.
Yes. Yep, battery. Kill the battery.
Yeah.
All right. We need to approve this.
Yes, we need a vote on this, please.
All right, chair will entertain a
Mr.
motion.
Chair, I'll move that we approve the tax releases for.
We have a motion for tax releases and refunds. Holding for a second. Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor for tax releases and refunds, please raise your right hand. All right.
And the last thing I
By
have,
your
here,
health.
gentlemen, is the VIA quarterly report. No action is needed. This is just a required part, since we fund a portion of their work that they do. They're required to give us a quarterly report.
And they're showing an annualized 100% for us, it looks like. So they're
I think
expending
at
their
this
budget.
point, we've only actually paid 50%.
Yeah.
Because this was through December.
Yeah.
And so we'll pay the other half.
But they're spending as budgeted.
Yes, they are.
All right.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you. All right, thank you. Forrest? It's on for us now.
We're in the short road now, folks.
Yay.
I'm just getting started.
Yeah.
You have a contract for Lakeway Sanitation, which is where we haul our trash to a commercial landfill, Lakeway Sanitation, near Morristown, Tennessee. That is the most cost-effective method for a small county to use, including counties that are twice our size. The permitting regulations for opening a modern lined landfill just are not something you can do unless you are bringing in trash from other places and making business. So we have hauled with them for a number of years. They have an existing contract with us that was extended in 2016. It goes through November 30th of 2021. That contract allowed an annual CPI adjustment that is set to take place, and that would be an additional $22.52 per ton. That's about $4,500 for a year based on our tonnage from last fiscal year. If you extend the contract, their proposal will extend that contract through June 30th of 2024. They will forego that increase until at least July 1st of 22, and the increase at that point would not be making up for what we're not doing now. It would be the CPI for that year at that point. But the landfill, they're happy with the service. We have a separate contract for hauling it over there. It's a different deal, not connected with this.
This is basically our dump fee.
Yeah.
Essentially, if you boil it down. So.
All right.
Ask for your approval of that extension pending the attorney's drafting of it.
And this is an extension through June 30th, 2024.
Correct.
But it locks in the price till July 1st, 2022.
It's probably one of the benefits of a low fuel price at the moment.
We have to do something.
Yeah. All right. Okay, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the Lakeway Sanitation contract.
So moved.
So moved. Do we have a second? Second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All right.
Next, some of you will recall back in August, you had a representative of the Charters of Freedom Foundation forward group come to speak about putting the Charters of Freedom, Declaration of Independence, Constitution, and Bill of Rights on the courthouse lawn statue there. They have followed up with a proposed letter of intent, which is in your packets. I do want to emphasize, I don't think it was clear from the presentation last time, I have verified the founder of that and their nonprofit will pay for the construction of the setting, which there was discussion about an upcharge for granite. When you look at our courthouse and the brick that's there, brick, which is the standard, is probably going to look better. But there is some cost that has to be raised locally. No county funds will be done here, but I want to make that clear that it was not made clear we got here before. They will set up a bank account and they will ask people to give money because that has to pay for, you probably need a sidewalk going to the thing. You've got to have, probably some landscaping around it. they're gonna pay for 90% of it, but there are some things that can be raised locally from private sources. Any help you all can give in directing it to that or giving of any funds you wish to give will be helpful.
Okay.
We've looked at it down there on the right-hand side of the courthouse lawn behind the flagpole is the best area to put it, and approval and moving forward everything, we would get that started when their construction crews are available to do it. We've got Yancey County and a number of others, and it seems to have been successful.
Excellent. Does anyone have any questions?
How do we donate, Forrest?
You would have to go to their website, I believe. We'll have to check on, I think it's in their letter of intent.
Looks like it's on the bottom of the actual letter of intent.
Chartersofreedom.com.
Yeah.
So, chartersofreedom.com if you'd like to donate. I will donate.
Yep, and I will too. We pledged that earlier. And if you're not familiar with this, this is a program where they put a copy of what's in the National Archives, okay? And they've been doing it around the country, and they're on public display so that people can see them. And a substantial investment on their part, and so it's something that I think will be a real addition.
And there's actually been a display, I think Connie sent it to me, that I've walked by all my life in the Marshall Post Office.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is much, more higher profile than that, but.
Yeah, that's just up on the wall.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I saw the one in Burnsville, and it's very nicely done.
They do a very nice job. Yeah. All right, the chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
And second. All in favor, please raise our right hands. Okay.
Next, you have just for your individual review and any input you want to provide, the Community Services Block Grant for Community Action Opportunities, which funds basically what we call vocational rehabilitation in the past for Madison, McDowell, and Buncombe counties. They annually provide their plan, which has been, it's in your packets for you all to look at. It's not any of the county's money. It's no binding input, but if you all have any input you wish to provide, please do so before the 15th of February, just a few days away. And surplus property, you have an upset bid for Bear River Lodge, lot 126, 2.3 acres, upset period ended on January 26th. No bids were received. The previous bid was $4,025. Current bid is $44,2750. You can accept 9 counter.
Okay, what is the pleasure of the board?
What's the value on that? Yes, the value on that force, what is the tax value on it?
I'm not immediately sure.
.26 acres, Bear River Lodge.
We paying a homeowner association dues on that?
Yep, right, sure do.
In which case, I'll move that we accept the offer and sell it, put it back on the tax rolls, and stop paying a bill.
We have a motion.
I'll second that because our last conversation, while we were waiting on an upset bid, this is all we got. So I'm done with it.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Yep. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Congratulations. We have a piece of property back on the tax books. All right.
Next month, we'll do a budget amendment to reduce the tax revenue by that much to offset. The next bid you have is on McDarris Loop Drive, 1 acre there. The bid is for $500.
Yeah. I move we reject the offer.
I'll second. We have a excuse me, motion to reject the bid of $500 on McDarris Loop at a second. Any question? All those in favor, raise your hand.
Clarification?
Sir.
This, if we vote to accept the $500 offer, that simply begins the upset bid process, correct?
That's correct.
It does. I would say if you think that you're not going to accept something around that, at the end of it, you're going to spend $500 in advertising. So if you're pretty sure there's going to be a rejection at the end of it, don't waste your money advertising it.
Fair point.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments or observations? Okay, we call for the vote. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Forrest?
And I'll get y'all kind of the exact numbers so you know kind of what the tipping point is on that.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Sometimes it just depends. Next is Alvin Fox Trail, or Lot 8C, Laurel Highlands. It's half an acre, $400 bid.
Any
These have been
discussion?
listed, correct, Mandy, with our realtor for a year.
Yeah, that's the only offer on that piece of property in a year, correct?
Correct.
Correct. Okay, the pleasure of the board.
I move that we deny this offer.
I second. We have a motion to deny and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of denying the $400 offer on Alvin Fox Trail Lot 8C, please raise your right hand.
And next you have Ivy Way, or Lot 201, Wolf Laurel Estates. That's 1 acre, $500 bid.
Are we paying the homeowner association fees on that?
I think that we are, yes.
You know how much they are for? Yeah.
It's in that $400 to $500 range.
Yeah.
Where is it?
Yeah, it's that much a year. Pleasure of the board.
I move we accept the bid and begin the upset bid process.
Move to accept the bid and begin the upset bid process.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of accepting and starting the upset bid process on Ivy Way, lot number 201, Wolf Laurel Estates, please raise your right hand.
Reluctantly.
Next, Bear River, Lot 122, 1.58 acres, $1,500 bid.
Pleasure of the board.
Mr. Chair, I make the motion, I make the motion that we deny the bid of $1,500 on this piece of property at Bear River Lodge, Lot 122.
We have a motion to deny. We have a second. Any discussion?
Want to consider a counteroffer?
Sir.
Any consideration for a counteroffer?
Any consideration?
I have been notified by a person who's interested in this property, so that is why I made the motion to deny it, because they want to place a higher bid on this property.
All right. What is the?
Would the appropriate action then not be to accept the bid and allow them to go through the upset bid process? If there's someone out there who's interested.
Mr. Attorney.
I mean, if they're interested in it, they could, they could place the bid through the upset bid process. That would be one way. And then, if they decided to change their mind and they didn't place an upset bid, then at least you would put it out there. And this is one of the lots that you're paying dues on. So you would want to get rid of that if you could.
And it's half the size of the one that we just agreed to sell.
But it's also in a different location. That means a little bit there, because you're looking at a lot smaller tract of land, and most of the property where we accepted it doesn't even perk, so therefore you can't use it for building. But we know this lot
Hey, you're not helping our sales any.
Hey, I'm just laying it out there.
Alternative facts. Alternative facts.
I'm just telling you why I'm for and against it. I'm trying to take care of the taxpayer.
Well,
Which option is cheaper for us?
More money.
The option that's cheaper for us would be to go ahead and accept it and put it on the upset bid process, correct?
That's a philosophical issue.
Yes, it is.
But I mean, you gotta, for those, when you're looking at it, look at your whole inventory. And this has been debated for 2 or 3 years, and I understand all sides of it. But when you're foreclosing on property for taxes, you're gonna acquire a lot of stuff, and a lot of stuff like this. And you've listed it. We have gotten offers. I don't know what you're gonna get necessarily. Now, something could change tomorrow. But the big picture, it would be nice to get rid of some of this stuff, because the longer it's out there, the more it's hurting us. One at a time, not that big a deal. So that's
That's a fair statement. Yes, sir.
all right, we have a motion on the floor. Does that motion stand, or is it going to be withdrawn and a new motion entered?
What's the motion?
The motion that I made was to deny this offer on the property.
I second.
We have any further discussion? Call for the vote. All those in favor of denying, please raise your right hand. Motion carries 3-2. All right. Is this all the surplus property? All right, thank you, Forrest.
Thank you.
Thank you, Forrest. Being no other business to come before this meeting this evening, I will adjourn, call for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
A motion to
Praise
second.
God, that's what I'll say.
All those in favor, please raise your right hand.
Me too.
And thank you for hanging with us.
It's a good bunch, yay, people staying.
Go back to the old days, it's surplus property course. When I first came on this board, that was
See everybody. See, I'm gonna try to
Good night, guys.
7:30.
This needs to go, these blue folders need to go to Brooke. Hey, blue folders need to go to Brooke.
Yes, all the blue folders go to Brooke.
And our notebooks too, right?
Yes.
Well, the contents of them.
Yeah,
I mean, you can keep the contents of them, you just need to give her the notebook back.
Yeah.
Okay.
He'll never miss it. If he asks what happened, just tell him it's pilfered.
That's all good. All right, all right, all right.